There are books that carry us away swiftly, like wind in our sails, and there are others that feel like old friends, books that arrive like a candle flickering in the window, calling us home even as storm clouds gather. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood. Prince, the sixth in the beloved series by J.K. Rowling, is such a book. A story nestled in deepening shadow, where secrets stir and loyalties waver, yet where friendship, courage, and love continue to glimmer through the gathering dark. This tale is a bridge, a quiet turning in the road between the golden haze of youth and the solemn march into the unknown. Here we find Harry older now, more burdened, more watchful. The castle he once raced through as a boy still stands, tall and proud, but it no longer feels untouched by danger. Whispers coil around. Its corridors. Some doors have been opened that cannot be shut, and yet there is warmth still. There is tea steaming in the Burrow's kitchen, laughter echoing in common rooms, and the headmaster's wise eyes glinting with something that just might be hope. The genre of this story nestles between fantasy and mystery, brushed with elements of dark drama and quiet horror. It is a tale not just of magic spells and flying brooms, but of the soul and the choices that shape it. In this sixth chapter of the saga, we explore the past, sift through memories like delicate glass, and glimpse the threads that bound Tom Riddle before he became Voldemort. We follow Harry as he uncovers the fragile and dangerous knowledge of Horcruxes, learns about a boy named Severus, and grows into the storm he was always meant to weather. But worry not, dear listener. Though this story carries tension and sorrow, we will tread through it gently. Our footsteps will be soft, our voices low. Each moment will unfold like mist upon water, leading you deeper into the mystery, without ever jolting you from sleep's slow embrace. The themes are solemn but beautiful. We will touch upon destiny and free will, the meaning of memory, and the cost of power. There are long looks exchanged in silence, letters left unread, and truths half spoken until it is almost too late. There is a tower, struck by lightning, but we shall reach it slowly. Only when you are ready. And now, as the night deepens and the stars gather outside your window, let us open the book, quietly, reverently, and begin. Our journey starts not in a castle or a wizarding home, but in the office of a very ordinary man. Let us drift now, gently, into Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The Other Minister. There is a certain kind of silence that fills the air just before something important begins. A hush that slips into the room like fog curling at the edges of a window pane. That is the silence which hangs over the opening pages of this story. It is a gray, grim evening in London. Rain streaks the windows of 10 Downing Street. The Muggle Prime Minister, an unnamed man, weary and troubled, sits alone, deep in thought. The week has been long. Disasters have piled upon disasters. A bridge has collapsed with no cause. Freak. Hurricanes have struck. There is talk of rising fear across the country, though no one can quite name what the people are afraid of. And just as he leans forward to gather his thoughts, he appears. A green flash in the fireplace, a swirl of flames, and then, stepping from the hearth as if from some dream, Cornelius Fudge, former Minister for Magic, dusts ash from his robes and greets the startled Muggle Prime Minister with almost casual familiarity. You see, the wizarding world and the Muggle world are not as separate as most believe. When needed, the ministers do speak. And now, in this strange moment, the Prime Minister is about to learn that the recent chaos, the inexplicable collapses and tragedies, are not accidents of weather or chance, but signs of a rising dark force in a hidden world just behind his own. Fudge, looking older and more frayed than ever before, confirms what he had tried to deny for so long. Lord Voldemort has returned. The magical world is at war once again. Fudge has been dismissed from his post, and a new minister has been appointed. His name is Rufus Scrimgeour. He is a former Auror, a man with a lion's mane of grizzled hair and a manner both commanding and cold. He does not enter with softness or kindness, but with the brisk confidence of someone used to dealing with danger. He speaks with clipped words and firm tone, offering no reassurances. He tells the Muggle Prime Minister that certain individuals, Amelia, Bones, a senior magical official, and Emmeline Vance, a member of the Secretive Order of the Phoenix, have been murdered. He warns of other incidents as well, a mass breakout from Azkaban, orchestrated by Voldemort. Dementors now roam freely, no longer guarding the prison, but aiding in the chaos. He speaks of inferi, dark, soulless, reanimated bodies used by dark wizards to terrorize. And perhaps most chillingly, he informs the Prime Minister that the wizarding world can offer no simple solution to the rising fear. There are no magic spells that will fix what is happening. The Prime Minister must keep calm, carry on, and trust that the magical government will do its part. But in that dim room beneath, the soft glow of the desk lamp and the steady beat of rain against the glass, the Muggle Prime Minister does not feel reassured. He feels, perhaps for the first time, that something vast and dangerous has stepped across the threshold, that the shadows now have shape, and that even in his own world, so solid, so rational, there is no guarantee of safety anymore. And then, as quickly as they came, the wizards are gone. The fireplace flares once more, and silence falls again. The Prime Minister is alone. The world is unchanged, and yet completely altered, and in this way, with a quiet tension humming just beneath the surface, the story begins. Chapter 2. Spinner's End. Somewhere far from the bustling streets of London, hidden away in a forgotten corner of the world, stands a row of tired, crooked houses. Their bricks are blackened by soot, their windows clouded with grime. The river nearby glistens with an oily sheen, and the air feels thick with something old and sour, like rust or sorrow. This place is called Spinner's End. It is a strange name for a stranger street. Narrow and somber, with tall chimneys and sagging roofs, as though time itself has pressed its weight down upon them. But tonight, something stirs among the shadows. Two cloaked figures move swiftly through the gloom, their footsteps sharp on the cobbled stones. One is tall and graceful, her face hidden beneath a heavy hood. She walks with urgency, every movement sharp with fear. The other moves beside her with more hesitation, more suspicion, her voice sharp and wary as she hisses warnings into the wind. These two women are sisters, Narcissa Malfoy and Bellatrix Lestrange. Narcissa is pale, her hair like shining ice, her features elegant but strained. She clutches her cloak close, eyes darting with worry. Something has driven her here, against all advice, against her husband's wishes. For Lucius Malfoy is in disgrace, imprisoned, in Azkaban, and now their son, young Draco, is in terrible danger. Bellatrix, by contrast, burns like a candle too close to the flame. Her eyes shine with fervor, her smile sharp as broken glass. She is loyal to the Dark Lord, fiercely, fanatically, and she does not trust the man they have come to see. But Narcissa insists there is no one else. And so they knock. The door opens, to reveal a man with sallow skin and black eyes like tunnels, deep, unreadable still, Severus Snape. He lets them in without a word, as if he has been expecting them. The house is dark and cramped, shelves sagging under the weight of old books, strange jars, and dust-laced memories. Everything smells faintly of potion fumes and old paper. They are not alone in the house. A squat, curious woman with dark eyes and a watchful manner sits nearby, sipping wine. Her name is Wormtail, though once he was called Peter Pettigrew. He hovers nervously in the background, eyes darting between the visitors and Snape like a frightened animal. But Snape pays him no mind. Narcissa's voice breaks as she speaks. Her son, Draco, has been given a task by Lord Voldemort. A terrible task, one she believes he cannot survive. She does not know the details, only that it is punishment for Lucius's failure, and that the Dark Lord has no mercy left for their family. She pleads with Snape, begs him to protect her boy, to watch over him, to keep him safe. Bellatrix scoffs. She does not believe Snape is truly loyal. She doubts him, doubts his commitment, his honor, his strength. She demands proof, and so, with a voice calm and cold as still water, Snape answers. He recounts the Dark Lord's trust in him, the confidence, placed in him above others, even above Bellatrix. He tells of how he deceived Dumbledore, earned the Order of the Phoenix's trust, and how he has carefully walked the line between two worlds, all in service of Voldemort's cause. Still, Bellatrix is not satisfied, and so Narcissa makes her final desperate request. She asks Severus Snape to make an unbreakable vow, a binding magical contract that, if broken, causes instant death. She asks him to swear that he will protect Draco, that he will carry out the task himself, if Draco cannot. There is no turning back once the words are spoken. Snape knows this, and yet, with no change in his dark, fathomless eyes, he extends his, and Bellatrix acts as the binder, her wand pointed at the place where their hands meet. And as the vow is made, golden threads of light coil around them,
sealing the words forever. Snape swears to watch over Draco, to protect him, and, if needed, to complete the task the Dark Lord has assigned. The vow is sealed. The room seems colder. The silence afterward hangs like mist. Narcissa breathes, just
once, as if she can finally exhale. Bellatrix watches with narrowed eyes, still unsure. And Snape. Snape says nothing more. Outside, the wind rustles through the narrow alley, curling around the chimney tops like a warning. Something has been set in motion. A dark promise, made not out of ambition, but out of something more tangled. Something darker and perhaps even sadder. And thus ends the quiet, haunted meeting in Spinner's End. The pieces begin to move. Chapter 3, Will and Won't. Somewhere in a quiet suburb, far from the chaos of the magical world, lies a house that is far too silent for comfort. Number 4, Privet Drive. This is where Harry Potter finds himself once again, though he know. Longer belongs here, if he ever did. He is older now, taller, his eyes more watchful. He has seen more than any boy should. And yet, for one final summer, he returns to this place of small rooms, clipped lawns, and locked emotions. But this year, something is different. Harry sits alone in his bedroom. Hedwig rustles softly in her cage, the sky outside dimming into a lavender twilight. Upon his desk lies a copy of the Daily Prophet, and beside it, a letter, creased, reread a dozen times. Dumbledore is coming. Tonight. Harry does not know why, but the very idea that the headmaster himself would come to fetch him is unsettling. Dumbledore, always so mysterious, so rarely forthcoming, is not one for casual visits. His presence means something is changing. Downstairs, the Dursleys are uneasy. Petunia wrings her hands. Vernon paces like a bull denied its charge, and Dudley clutches his backside as if Dumbledore might curse it again. They are afraid, though they won't say so aloud. And then, with a crack like thunder muffled by velvet, Albus Dumbledore arrives. He does not knock. He simply appears at the door, tall and strange and gently smiling, dressed in robes that shimmer faintly even in the dull hallway light. He is perfectly polite to the Dursleys, though his presence fills their home like incense, foreign, disorienting, impossible to ignore. He conjures drinks with a wave of his wand, which go untouched, and then he turns to Harry. Dumbledore has come not only to collect him, but to discuss two important matters. The first, he explains softly, involves a will. The will of Sirius Black. Sirius has left everything to Harry. His home at 12 Grimmauld Place, his possessions, even the foul-tempered house elf Creature. But Dumbledore is cautious. There are old magical laws that tie a house elf to its family, so they must be certain that the transfer of ownership is real. He calls Creature forth. The creature appears with a crack, grumbling, sneering, and muttering insults beneath his breath. But when Dumbledore commands Creature to obey Harry, and the elf is unable to resist, it confirms what they feared and hoped. Grimmauld Place now belongs to Harry Potter, and thus, a new layer of responsibility settles on the boy's shoulders. Dumbledore sends Creature to work at Hogwarts, far from the darkness of his old home. The second matter Dumbledore discusses is even more surprising. He tells Harry that they will not be going straight to the Burrow, where the Weasleys wait. No. First, they have a visit to make, to someone whose cooperation, Dumbledore says, may prove crucial in the times ahead. Harry, ever curious, agrees without protest. And just like that, they depart Privet Drive. Not with farewells or fanfare, just a faint crack of air and silence behind them. In a moment, they are gone, leaving only the faintest shimmer in the space they once occupied. The Dursleys say nothing. Perhaps they are too stunned. Perhaps they are relieved, and Harry is once again drawn into the current of magic and mystery. His summer has ended, and the journey forward into memory, danger, and discovery has begun. Chapter 4. Horace Slughorn. The air is thick with the perfume of flowers. Somewhere in the English countryside, nestled among hedges and winding lanes, stands a charming little house, a quiet place that tonight hides a most unusual secret. Harry and Dumbledore arrive just outside its gates, their sudden appearance disturbing only the soft rustle of leaves. Dumbledore, calm as ever, stands surveying the house, his silver beard glowing faintly in the light of the moon. There's an odd twinkle in his eyes, though he says very little. To Harry's confusion, the house appears to be in chaos. The door hangs ajar. Inside, furniture lies overturned, glass shattered, and streaks of something dark smear the walls. The scene looks like a violent struggle has taken place, but Dumbledore only smiles knowingly. With a wave of his wand, he pokes the chandelier, the armchair, the walls, and then, like a ripple in a still pond, everything begins to change. The dark smears vanish, the broken glass repairs itself, and from the form of an overstuffed armchair, a man uncoils and stands, Horace Slughorn. He is round, pink-faced, and slightly breathless, with a mustache that twitches nervously as he speaks. His robe is tasseled and rich, and there's a look of cautious calculation behind his eyes. This is a man who has spent his life navigating power and influence, always managing to stay just on the right side of danger. Slughorn is not pleased to be found. He's been on the run for months, hiding from both Death Eaters and the Ministry, alike refusing to choose sides. He has no interest in war, he says. He merely wants to enjoy his retirement. But Dumbledore is not here by chance. He has come to recruit Slughorn to return to Hogwarts, to teach once more. He offers no threats, no commands, just gentle persuasion, and a carefully played card, Harry himself. Slughorn is intrigued, not because Harry is famous, though that certainly helps, but because Slughorn is a collector, a man who gathers bright, young minds like trophies, relishing the glory of saying he once taught the greats. He boasts of past students like a proud gardener tending rare blooms, and Harry is the rarest of all. Slughorn, still pretending to hesitate, invites them to sit. He serves crystallized pineapple, speaks of his little network, and drops names like Jules, Cornelius Fudge, Gwenog Jones, and a young wizard who invented the Wolfsbane potion. Dumbledore remains amused but patient. He knows Slughorn well. He knows what motivates him. And he knows that behind the grumbling and evasion, Slughorn is already tempted. There's a moment, quiet, almost invisible, where Slughorn glances at Harry and sees something beyond the fame. He sees connection, a name he recognizes, a mother he once taught. Lily Evans. He remembers her brilliance, her kindness, her laughter, and something shifts. Before long, Slughorn agrees, reluctantly of course, to return to Hogwarts. He tries to mask his eagerness, but it's there, like a candle flickering to life. He says he'll need time to pack, of course. A few days. Perhaps more. Dumbledore agrees with a smile that suggests he planned all this perfectly. As they take their leave, Dumbledore gently reminds Slughorn that time is short and the world is changing. Outside, beneath the open sky, Dumbledore and Harry walk quietly together. They speak of Slughorn, of memory, and of choices. And then, Dumbledore pauses. He lifts his wand and touches it to his blackened hand, the one Harry hadn't noticed until now. It is withered and damaged, as though burned by something deep and cruel, but Dumbledore brushes it off with a quiet dismissal. It is a story for another time, he says. And then, just like that, they vanish once more, leaving behind a garden, bathed in moonlight, and a house where the past has stirred back to life. Chapter 5. An Excess of Phlegm, the Burrow. A patchwork house leaning cheerfully to one side, its windows glowing golden in the early evening light, surrounded by wild gardens and pecking chickens. It smells of freshly baked bread and something softly magical, like enchantments woven with love. This is where Harry finds himself next, safe again in the embrace of the Weasleys. He arrives with Dumbledore, greeted at the door by a flurry of red hair, warm arms, and familiar voices. Mrs. Weasley, apron dusted with flour, pulls him into a hug before even a word is spoken. Ginny grins at him from across the room. Ron barrels down the stairs, wide-eyed and rumpled from sleep. The house hums with the kind of chaos only a big family can create. Noisy, comforting, alive. Yet there's something different this summer. Harry notices it in the way Mrs. Weasley fusses just a little more than usual. In how Mr. Weasley lingers at the window when he thinks no one is watching. In the hushed conversations that pause when Harry enters the room. The war has crept even here. But there are smaller battles too. Personal ones, less dangerous, yet still deeply felt. One such tension is caused by the arrival of Fleur Delacour, the beautiful French witch whom Harry remembers from the Triwizard Tournament is staying at the Burrow, engaged now to Bill Weasley. Her presence is as dazzling as ever, sleek hair, silver jewelry, and a voice that slides through the room like perfume. But not everyone is charmed. Mrs. Weasley, Ginny, and even Hermione, who arrives not long after Harry, seem less than enthusiastic. They whisper behind closed doors, roll their eyes, and refer to Fleur with a nickname that hisses with disapproval: Phlegm. Fleur, for her part, is oblivious, or chooses to be. She flutters and sighs, trailing scented laughter wherever she goes. Harry stays out of it, watching from the edges, amused and slightly bewildered. He has bigger things on his mind. He's thinking about Draco Malfoy. He tells Ron and Hermione what he saw in Diagon Alley, how Malfoy slipped away into Borgin and Burke's, how he seemed older, sharper, and secretive. He tells them about the strange gesture, the hidden object he showed the shopkeeper, and his suspicion that Draco has joined the Death Eaters. Ron is doubtful. Malfoy, a Death Eater? It seems too dangerous, too serious for a schoolboy, even one as cruel as Draco. Hermione is skeptical too, though not dismissive. She wants proof. Harry, however, is certain. He can feel it. Malfoy is up to something. Dark. And Harry knows now, more than ever, that danger wears familiar faces. But their conversation is interrupted by lighter things, by Fred and George, who stop by with tales of their wildly successful joke shop. They sparkle with energy, their pockets bulging with experimental sweets and tricks. Their laughter fills the house like old music. Then, there's news from Hogwarts. Dumbledore has been seen visiting the Ministry, whispering with high officials, and making unusual preparations. There's a sense of shifting winds, of something large about to unfold. Harry's birthday arrives with little fanfare but much affection. The Weasleys give him small but thoughtful gifts. Mrs. Weasley bakes a cake. And Dumbledore sends a quiet message: be ready. The chapter closes on a familiar note of friendship, of voices talking long into the night, of the burrow's crooked roof creaking beneath the stars. Yet even as Harry lies in bed, safe beneath the patchwork quilt, there is a weight in the air. Something unseen, pressing in from beyond the walls. The world is changing, and Harry feels it coming, like a storm gathering just beyond the horizon. Chapter 6: Draco's Detour. The morning begins with quiet excitement. It's time to buy school supplies. A tradition, one of the last still standing, as students prepare for another year at Hogwarts. But this time, there is a tension beneath the surface, like the low hum of something waiting to strike. The Weasleys, Hermione, and Harry prepare to head to Diagon Alley, and their departure is marked by more than just bustling and breakfast. Arthur Weasley carries a protective wand tucked subtly into his sleeve. Mrs. Weasley triple-checks cloaks and coin purses. The world is no longer safe, not even for errands. They travel by Floo powder, that magical flurry of green flames that whisks them from hearth to hearth. And when they step out into the cobbled street of Diagon Alley, it's both familiar and strange. Shops stand open, yes, but some are closed, boarded up, or shadowed with uncertainty. Posters warn of Death Eaters, offering rewards for sightings. The Ministry's presence is heavy in the air. Witches and wizards walk quickly, eyes darting, laughter hushed. Still, there's some magic left in the alley. Children press their faces to sweet shop windows. Owls hoot softly from iron cages. Robes swirl in the breeze as shoppers hurry from store to store. A little normalcy, clinging on. The first stop is Fred and George's shop, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, and oh, what a sight it is. The twins have transformed a once-empty storefront into a gleaming wonderland. Bright banners flutter overhead, fireworks pop playfully indoors, and shelves burst with every manner of mischief. Skiving snack boxes, Peruvian instant darkness powder, extendable ears, and pygmy puffs. Harry watches in wonder as customers pour, and a laughter echoing off the walls. The twins are thriving, bold, brilliant, and unbothered by the gloom beyond their doors. Even Mrs. Weasley, who had once been skeptical, can't help but look impressed. But the light dims slightly when the group moves on. Harry's mind is elsewhere. He's watching Draco Malfoy earlier. He'd seen Draco slip away from his mother and head down the alley toward Nocturne Alley, that darker corner of the wizarding world where shadows linger longer and the air is colder. Now, unable to let go of his suspicions, Harry breaks away from the others and follows. Hermione and Ron, reluctant but loyal, trail behind. They find Draco entering Borgin and Burke's, the same shop Harry had once visited with Lucius Malfoy. It's a grim place, filled with cursed objects and dangerous curiosities, cloaked in gloom. Harry can't hear the conversation, but he sees enough. Draco speaks sharply to the shopkeeper, Mr. Borgin, gesturing to something in a cabinet. He shows his arm, just for a second, and though Harry can't see the mark, he senses the meaning. He's certain now. Malfoy is a Death Eater. Hermione and Ron are less sure. They argue quietly as they make their way back toward the main alley. Ron insists that Malfoy's just full of himself, using his father's name to throw his weight around. Hermione worries that Harry is seeing shadows where there are none, but Harry feels it in his bones. Malfoy is planning something secret. Later, at Madame Malkin's, Harry crosses paths with Draco again. It's awkward, tense. Words are exchanged like blades. Subtle, cold, barbed. Malfoy is dismissive, smug. He doesn't deny anything, but he doesn't confirm it either. Just smiles a thin, unpleasant smile and walks away, his mother in tow. Narcissa Malfoy, tall and pale, spares Harry a glance of disdain as she glides out the door. And with that, the moment passes. The day ends with the gathering of supplies, textbooks, cauldrons, potion ingredients. But Harry's thoughts linger in Nocturne Alley, behind that dusty window, with Malfoy and his cryptic mission. The sky darkens as they return to the burrow. And though the world outside spins ever faster toward danger, there is still dinner waiting, and warm beds, and the soft sound of Ginny's laughter drifting down the hall. Night gathers slowly, and Harry lies awake, staring at the ceiling, the memory of Draco's sneer etched like frost in his mind. Something is beginning. Something he doesn't yet understand. Chapter 7. The Slug Club. The summer air is cooling now, touched with the crisp breath of early September. The final days at the Burrow pass with a bittersweet rhythm, soft conversations, last-minute packing, and the quiet, heavy knowledge that this year at Hogwarts may not be like the ones before. It's time to return. Platform 9 3/4 still holds its enchantment. The Hogwarts Express, red and majestic, waits with its soft whistle echoing through the station. Steam curls upward like mist in a dream. Students crowd the platform, some chattering excitedly, others clinging to parents, some quiet with thought. Mrs. Weasley fusses over everyone as always, adjusting scarves, checking pockets, and pressing sandwiches into hands. Her voice wavers slightly as she hugs Ron, Ginny, and Harry goodbye. The train pulls away with its usual grace, gliding out of London and into the countryside. Inside the compartments, the world shifts once more. Harry, Ron, and Hermione settle into their seats, familiar and comfortable. Luna Lovegood joins them for a little while, dreamy-eyed and gentle, her magazine held upside down as always. Her presence is calming, like a drifting cloud. But even here, among friends, Harry remains uneasy. His thoughts return to Malfoy. Always Malfoy. What is he up to? What is he hiding? That flicker of darkness he saw in Nocturne Alley hasn't left his mind, but new distractions arrive. A plump, cheerful wizard named Professor Slughorn comes calling. Slughorn, the new potions master, is gathering select students for a small gathering, a special club of sorts. Those he deems promising. Harry is invited, along with Hermione and a few others. Neville, who seems puzzled to be included. Ginny, glowing with quiet confidence. And several well-connected or high-achieving students, like Blaise Zabini. The group is led into a separate compartment, furnished cozily with snacks and armchairs. It feels almost like a miniature common room. Professor Slughorn is large, round, and rosy-faced, with an air of self-importance that is more amusing than off-putting. He speaks in warm, jovial tones, but his eyes are always calculating, scanning for connections, influence, and prestige. This is the Slug Club. He flatters Harry. Of course, the chosen one after all. But he also drops names from the past, like jewels on velvet. Former students who rose to fame and fortune. Ministers, authors, Quidditch stars. Slughorn prides himself on having discovered them all. It's clear he sees Harry as another jewel to add to his collection. Harry plays along politely but cautiously. He's not interested in fame, not like that. But he knows instinctively that being close to Slughorn might be useful, especially now. Outside the compartment, Ron is left out, not invited. He tries to shrug it off, but Harry can see the sting in his eyes. Hermione tries to ease the moment with stories from the gathering, but Ron's laughter is a little too loud, his jokes a little forced. They are 16 now. And though their friendship is strong, cracks begin to show, small ones, subtle but real. Envy, pride, and the shifting of identities. All the quiet storms of youth. Meanwhile, Malfoy is nowhere to be seen. He didn't show up at the Slug Club. Harry searches the corridors of the train, curiosity gnawing at him. Where has he gone? At last, with the help of his invisibility cloak, Harry finds him in a compartment at the rear of the train, alone but alert. He is talking quietly with a group of Slytherins, but as the train nears Hogwarts, he rises, glancing around. And then something strange happens. Harry is caught. Not by Malfoy, but by magic. Draco knows he's being watched. He casts a Petrificus Totalis spell beneath the invisibility cloak, and Harry falls, stiff and frozen, helpless under his concealment. He lies there as the train arrives, unable to speak or move. Malfoy steps over him, cool, calculating, triumphant. He mocks Harry softly, then steps away, leaving him there, immobile and invisible, in the dark corridor of the now empty train. For a long time, Harry lies alone. Then at last, help arrives. Tonks, the pink-haired Auror, now subdued and somber, finds him and revives him. Her hair is mouse brown, her mood dimmed. She seems worn down by something unspoken. She walks him up to the castle in silence. And so Harry returns to Hogwarts, not in triumph, not in joy, but in uncertainty. The stars shine overhead, as they always do, and the lake glimmers darkly below. The castle's high windows, but the boy who steps into the castle now is older, sharper, carried by questions and quiet fears, and Malfoy's cold voice still lingers in his ears. Chapter 8. Snape Victorious. The rain falls in soft sheets as Harry walks the winding path up to the castle. Beside him, Tonks is quiet. Her usual energy seems dimmed, her steps heavy. Gone is the vibrant hair, the mischief in her eyes. Something weighs on her, though she says nothing of it. She leaves Harry at the gates, disappearing into the mist with a quiet nod. And so Harry enters alone. The Hogwarts Express is long gone now, the platform empty. But inside the castle, life stirs. The smell of candles, of wax and parchment, of stone warmed by fire. These things welcome him back like an old blanket. He is late to the start of term feast. Professor McGonagall meets him with pursed lips and brisk words clearly displeased by his tardiness. He's escorted to the Great Hall, which glows with floating candles and starry enchantments. As Harry slips into his seat beside Ron and Hermione, he is met with worried glances and whispered questions. He tells them about Malfoy's spell, about lying there, frozen while the world moved on, about Tonks finding him, and his anger grows. Hermione tries to soothe him. Perhaps Malfoy was just acting out, but Harry's certainty burns brighter now. Malfoy is up to something. He's working in secret, and worse, he's better at hiding it than they thought. Then comes the moment that sends a chill through the hall. Dumbledore rises. His voice is calm as always, deep, sure, timeless. He welcomes them back, speaks of unity and caution, of the darkness rising in the world beyond the castle walls. And then, the announcement. There will be a new defense against the dark arts teacher. All heads turn. It isn't Professor Slughorn. No, Slughorn, we learn, has returned to teach potions. The new defense against the dark arts professor is Severus Snape. The words fall like stones into still water. Harry's heart drops. His long-held suspicion has come true. Snape, who has coveted the position for years, who walks the line between dark and light like a knife's edge, has finally been given the post. The look on Snape's face is unreadable. Perhaps it is triumph. Perhaps something colder. Harry feels betrayed. Dumbledore trusts Snape. He always has. But now, more than ever, Harry questions that trust. He remembers the moments of cruelty, the veiled threats, the shadows in Snape's eyes. After the feast, in the quiet of the Gryffindor common room, the trio talks. Ron is amazed. Snape, of all people. Hermione wonders why now, after so many years. Why did Dumbledore finally say yes? And Harry is fuming. The tension between Harry and Snape, always simmering, now feels destined to boil. The next day, classes begin. It's a strange shift. Slughorn is a kind of relief in potions, jovial, warm, and full of odd stories. He plays favorites, yes, but there's a charm to him, and even Hermione finds his lessons refreshing. Snape, by contrast, is as sharp as ever. He walks the defense classroom like a wraith in black, his voice low and deliberate. He teaches with skill, no one can deny that, but with a coldness that chills the room. There is no joy in his lessons, only precision and warning. Harry watches him carefully. He thinks of Malfoy, of Snape's unbreakable vow, and he wonders, how deep do their secrets run? Later, walking the stone halls, Harry reflects on all that's changed. Hogwarts is the same in many ways. The portraits murmur, ghosts drift by, the bells toll their familiar song. But the atmosphere is different now, tighter, dimmer, less safe. And yet, life goes on. There are laughs in the corridors, Quidditch, tryouts to prepare for, and homework to grumble over. Students still steal sweets and pass notes and fall in love. But for Harry, the weight of the coming storm is never far. He's watching Malfoy. He's watching Snape. And in the stillness between classes and meals, he wonders what the year will bring, what choices must be made, and who, when the time comes, can truly be trusted. Chapter 9. The Half-Blood Prince. The castle stirs with early light. Outside, the grounds are misty and gold-tinged, dew shimmering like stardust on the grass. Inside, Hogwarts hums with routine. Students rushing to breakfast, teachers preparing. For lessons, owls flitting past tall windows like shadows of clouds. In the Gryffindor common room, Harry prepares for his first potions class of the year. Unexpected, really, since he hadn't planned to take the subject at all. But Slughorn's return had changed everything. At the welcoming feast, Slughorn had announced that anyone with a good OWL grade could continue. Harry's exceeds expectations had just made the cut. And Dumbledore had advised him, gently, with that mysterious glint in his eye, that potions might be useful. So now Harry, like Hermione and Ron, heads to the dungeons. The potions classroom is cooler than the others, with shelves of bottled substances gleaming softly in the torchlight, vials of curious hues, powders in tiny jars, curled roots and feathers, and dried things that whisper of old alchemy. Slughorn greets them with his usual affable charm, his robes a little too tight around his round middle, his face glowing with good cheer. The desks are full, more students than usual, since the new policy has allowed more in. And because Harry hadn't planned to take potions, he finds himself without a textbook. Slughorn smiles, waves a hand, and directs Harry and Ron to the back where spare copies of advanced potion making sit. 2 battered books. Ron takes one, rather new, still clean. Harry is left with the other, old, frayed, with the cover nearly falling off. It's worn from use, its pages yellowed and soft at the edges. He opens it, and inside, written in neat, spidery ink, are small notes in the margins, crossed out instructions, corrections, additions, and on the first page, a single inscription. This book is the property of the half-blood prince. Harry raises an eyebrow. A curious feeling trickles through him. Class begins. Slughorn directs them to make the draft of living death, a complicated and advanced potion meant to send the drinker into a deep, near unbreakable sleep. Hermione, with her pristine copy and careful notes, begins methodically. Harry follows the handwritten notes from the old book. The prince, whoever they were, had made changes, altering instructions slightly, recommending new stirring techniques, suggesting the crushing of the soporiferous bean instead of slicing. Harry follows them, half curious, half skeptical, and something strange happens. His potion works flawlessly. More than that, it excels. It turns the perfect color, gives off the precise waft of vapor. It gleams, smooth and dark like starlight on water. Slughorn is delighted. He exclaims over Harry's work, praises him in front of everyone, and awards him a small bottle of Felix Felicis, a rare and powerful potion that brings the drinker a day of pure luck. Hermione is speechless. She had followed the textbook exactly, but Harry's results following the prince's notes were better. Ron beams, and Harry feels a thrill. Not just pride, but mystery. Who was the half-blood prince? Why did they know so much? Why were they so brilliant at potions? He examines the book later, alone. More notes, spells, scribbled counter curses. Whoever owned it was not only gifted in potion making, but something more. Clever, inventive, and precise. Harry doesn't tell Hermione how he succeeded. Not yet. He knows she would bristle at the idea of cheating, even though Slughorn hadn't noticed or cared. But Harry is intrigued. There's something personal about the old book. It feels alive in his hands, like a window into someone else's mind. Someone smart, someone hidden, someone like him. The day continues. Classes. Pass in a haze, Defense with Snape, who teaches coolly and without warmth. Transfiguration with McGonagall, who remains sharp as ever. In the evening, the common room fills with murmured conversations, chess games, and quills scratching parchment. But Harry finds himself turning pages in the Half-Blood Prince's book, long into the night. He's not just learning spells and potions, he's learning a voice, a mind, and somewhere deep in the back of his thoughts, a whisper begins. Who was the prince? And what else lies hidden between the lines? Chapter 10. The House of Gaunt. The sky outside is the soft silver of approaching autumn. Mist clings to the turrets of Hogwarts, and the lake lies still as glass. Inside the castle, Harry moves through his classes with a thread of quiet curiosity, winding through his mind. The Half-Blood Prince's book has become a small companion, a secret voice. Its margins are filled with insights, odd bits of magical knowledge and spells Harry has never seen before. But that quiet fascination is gently pushed aside when he receives a message. Dumbledore wishes to see him. It's not a scolding or correction, but an invitation, like the turning of a page in a book whose story has only just begun. Harry makes his way to the headmaster's office, the corridors echoing around him. The door opens to that familiar, comforting space. Shelves lined with magical instruments humming softly, the portraits of past headmasters nodding in dreamy sleep, and the ever-watchful Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, perched in quiet serenity. Dumbledore is there, as calm and composed as ever, his eyes twinkling behind half-moon spectacles. He invites Harry to sit, and then, with a quiet flick of his wand, he brings forward a pensieve, the silvery basin that holds memory in liquid form. Harry knows it well, and he knows that when Dumbledore invites him to look inside, what he sees is never just a lesson, it's a key. Dumbledore explains, they are going to delve into memory, not a memory of Harry's, but one from long before his time. He touches his wand to the surface of the silvery liquid, and Harry leans forward, and the world slips away. They fall softly into the past. The scene is strange, a kind of rural ruin. A stone cottage on the edge of the woods, small and crumbling, covered in ivy and thistle. It is the Gaunt house, home to a once powerful pure-blood family now reduced to squalor. Harry watches unseen, his presence only a whisper. He sees Bob, Ogden, a ministry official in a pinstriped coat, approaching the shack. He's come on business, but what he finds is something darker. Inside the house are Marvolo Gaunt and his son, Morphin. Marvolo is proud, angry, and mad with bitterness. He speaks with venom about blood purity and heritage, waving an ugly gold ring as proof of his noble ancestry. His daughter, Merope, lingers in the corner, silent, hunched, and frightened. Ogden's visit is met with rage. Morphin has attacked a Muggle man, and Ogden is there to serve notice. But the Gaunts are unstable, threatening, cruel. Their hatred for Muggles runs deep, and their disdain for the Ministry is barely contained. Harry sees Merope cower under her. Father's abuse. She drops a pot and Marvolo strikes her hard. There is no love in that house, only fear and loathing. And then, amid the shouting, Ogden flees. The memory fades. Harry finds himself back in Dumbledore's office, heart heavy, thoughts quiet. Dumbledore explains. The man Merope had loved from afar, the Muggle her brother attacked, was Tom Riddle, a handsome young man from the nearby village of Little Hangleton. And despite her mistreatment, Merope had fallen for him deeply. How she managed to leave her house to break free is still a mystery, but the child she would bear was Voldemort, Tom Marvolo Riddle. the boy who would become the darkest wizard of their age. Harry listens in silence. The memory is like a whisper of shadow across the candlelit warmth of the headmaster's office, but it is also a beginning. The start of understanding who Voldemort truly is, not just a name, but a history. Dumbledore leans back and speaks gently. Understanding is the first step to protection, he says. We must know his past to face his future. Harry feels the weight of it settle on him. This is no longer just a battle of spells and wands. It's a journey through bloodlines, choices, and the shape of a boy's soul. And yet, somewhere in that story of broken families and hidden names, Harry sees something deeper. The power of love withheld, the cost of fear, and the way darkness can bloom in silence. The ring Marvolo flaunted, Dumbledore has it now. A relic, cursed, once terrible. And Harry notices that Dumbledore's hand, which had once been unmarked, now bears a terrible injury. Blackened, withered, wrapped in protective enchantments. He says little of it, only that it's handled, for now. Harry leaves Dumbledore's office as twilight spills across the sky, his thoughts quiet but heavy. The castle around him feels older, as though the stone itself remembers Merope and her child. And in the flickering torchlight of the corridor, Harry understands. The past is not done speaking. It echoes in blood and memory, and it calls him forward, one truth at a time. Chapter 11. Hermione's Helping Hand. The air is brisk with early autumn. Leaves dance across the grounds like sparks of gold and crimson, swirling in the morning breeze. Inside the castle, the smell of parchment, ink, and roasting food mingles in the halls as students settle into the rhythm of the school year. Harry walks with purpose now. There's a quiet determination in his steps, buoyed by Slughorn's praise and potions, and the mystery of the half-blood prince's clever annotated textbook. His success in class, once a quiet struggle, has become something smoother. The notes scribbled by the prince, neat, efficient, sometimes cryptic, are proving invaluable. But Hermione isn't thrilled. She's been watching closely. And in the common room one evening, with the fire crackling low and shadows stretching, across the stone floor she finally speaks her concern aloud. "You don't know who wrote that book," she says, folding her arms. Harry shrugs. "But it's helping. Look at my results." Hermione frowns, her brow creasing. Just because someone's clever with potions doesn't mean they're trustworthy. You're letting someone else do the thinking for you. Ron, lounging nearby, with a piece of chocolate, offers little more than a lazy, "He's doing well, isn't he?" But Harry hears Hermione's warning. She's not just being fussy. She's wary, because magic can be powerful, and the source matters. Still, Harry keeps using the book, because it feels like it belongs to him. The notes match his instincts, and in a school where so much is uncertain, it's comforting to follow. The logic of someone brilliant and unseen. Meanwhile, the air around Hogwarts begins to thrum with tension. Draco Malfoy is quieter than usual, slipping off alone, missing meals, turning pale. He avoids eye contact. Even his usual swagger seems to fade. Harry notices. He watches, and he begins to suspect. He remembers Draco's strange visit to Borgin and Burke's over the summer, and how he had seemed so sure of himself, so determined. Could Malfoy be working for Voldemort? Harry brings it up with Ron and Hermione. Ron laughs it off, but Hermione, though skeptical, doesn't dismiss it outright. She suggests something instead, a softer way to track him. "You could try to follow him," she says, "but not alone. It becomes a quiet plan." In between classes and homework and Quidditch practice, Harry begins watching Malfoy. He notices how often Draco disappears into unused classrooms, behind hidden doors, through corridors that lead to nowhere. One afternoon, Harry follows him carefully, keeping at a distance. He turns a corner and bumps right into Peeves the Poltergeist, who lets out a shriek of mischief and gives him away. Malfoy vanishes again, like mist before morning sun. Frustrated, Harry returns to the common room, where Hermione is buried in her arithmancy homework, and Ron is scribbling a last-minute essay on magical creatures. Still, the suspicion lingers, and it grows. Harry's dreams that night are dark and scattered, shadows moving through halls, voices whispering behind walls, and that old, familiar sense of something dangerous slipping just beyond reach. The next day, a new distraction arrives. Katie Bell, a fellow Gryffindor and one of Harry's Quidditch players, is returning to Hogwarts after a mysterious injury. She smiles weakly, her hands trembling slightly. Something happened. Something she won't talk about. Harry remembers the cursed necklace, remembers that Malfoy was nearby. The puzzle grows, quiet and slow, and still the Half-Blood Prince's notes guide Harry through. Potions class with ease. Hermione watches, her mouth tight, her eyes wary. She's begun researching, checking library records, asking teachers, trying to uncover who the Half-Blood Prince might be. But the name yields nothing. It remains a ghost on the page. Later that week, Dumbledore once again invites Harry to his office. They descend into the pensive once more. Another memory, another piece of the puzzle. This time it is not the Gaunts, but a memory of young Tom Riddle, clever, charming, and cold. Harry watches silently as the boy, still at school, manipulates, flatters, and learns. He is already becoming something, not quite human, already seeking knowledge that most would never dare. And Harry begins to understand. This isn't just a story of dark magic. It's a story of identity, of names and choices and the spaces between right and wrong. When he leaves Dumbledore's office, the sky outside is streaked with stars. He walks back to the common room slowly, his footsteps echoing softly. Hermione greets him with a look, half worry, half wonder. She's still trying to help. And even though Harry may not always listen, her quiet concern follows him like a warm hand at his back. That night, the castle sleeps under a thin veil of cloud, the wind brushing the towers like breath through ancient stone. Inside Gryffindor Tower, Harry lies awake. In his bag, the Half-Blood Prince's book rests like a secret waiting to be read again. And beyond the walls, something stirs, something small, something sharp, but not loud enough yet to be heard by those dreaming. Chapter 12. Silver and Opals. Autumn has settled fully now over the castle. The grounds of Hogwarts wear the season like a robe of rustling copper and burnished gold. The trees bow in the breeze. The scent of earth and wind carries through. Open windows, and students find comfort in scarves, mugs of warm pumpkin juice, and the steady rhythm of lessons. And yet, beneath it all, there is a faint sense of unease. Something is shifting, something hidden, but not still. Harry feels it in the halls, in the way students talk in murmurs, in the glances exchanged between teachers, in the way the castle seems to pause and listen after dark. It begins quietly, as these things often do. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are walking back from Hogsmeade. The village is charming as always. Its windows glowing softly, its shops bustling with students and laughter, Zonko's joke shop hums with energy, and Honeyduke's offers its usual delightful escape into sugar and color. But as they make their way toward the castle, the laughter fades. There's a coldness in the air, not just wind, but something else. As they approach the gate, a figure stumbles forward, Katie Bell once again. This time she is not smiling. Her arms are outstretched, her face twisted in pain and confusion, as if she's caught in an invisible storm. Her body rises slightly, lifted as if by wind, and then she collapses, trembling violently. Time slows. Students scream. A teacher rushes over, and beside her, lying quietly in the grass, is a small black package wrapped in paper, sealed tight, and poking from the edges. Silver chain and a cursed opal necklace, the same one Harry saw months ago in Borgin and Burke's. The air sharpens. Everything becomes still. Madame Pomfrey is called, and Katie is taken to the hospital wing, her condition unknown, her mind far away. The necklace is retrieved carefully by Professor McGonagall, her face grave and unreadable. The incident ripples through the school. Whispers spread like smoke, and Harry's thoughts leap immediately to one person, Draco Malfoy. He remembers how secretive Draco has been, how he lingered at Borgin and Burke's, how his moods have darkened. He shares this again with Ron and Hermione. Ron, protective and loyal, begins to nod along, but Hermione, ever the measured one, isn't so sure. "How do you know it was Malfoy?" she asks gently. It could have been anyone, but Harry has that feeling again, like a cold certainty in his chest. Draco is involved. Somehow. Later, as they walk through the castle, Harry notices something odd. Malfoy isn't gloating. He's not boasting or smiling. In fact, he seems paler than ever, haunted, withdrawn. He's not celebrating. He's hiding. In potions class, Harry continues to thrive. With the Half-Blood Prince's notes, he moves through even the most difficult assignments with grace. Slughorn is delighted, praising him constantly, chuckling warmly at Harry's every success. "Your mother would be proud," he says with a fond smile. "She was one of my favorites." Harry feels the compliment deeply, though a part of him wonders if it's the prince's genius he's channeling, not his own. Still, it's a comfort. The prince's book feels like a steady hand on his shoulder, guiding him through the labyrinth of schoolwork and suspicion. But Hermione grows more uneasy. She has taken to researching the book in earnest, poring over lists of past students, checking initials, tracking names. "Who signs themselves Half-Blood anything?" she murmurs, brow furrowed. It's odd, strange, almost like a statement. But for now, it remains a mystery. As the days pass, the mood at Hogwarts becomes heavier. The attack on Katie has left a shadow. Students look over their shoulders more often. Teachers are tense. The castle, though still filled with the usual sights and smells and laughter, carries a hush, like a breath held too long. Even Quidditch practices are quieter. Harry, as captain, does his best to rally his team. Ron, his keeper, is feeling the pressure, and Hermione, ever supportive, tries to bolster his confidence with quiet encouragement and whispered smiles. One evening, Harry finds himself alone in the library, running his fingers over the Half-Blood. Prince's handwritten spells. Some are curious, some are powerful. One in particular catches his eye. Sectumsempra. There are no instructions, only 2 words scribbled beside it. For enemies. Harry pauses. Something about it feels darker, sharper. He doesn't try it, not yet, but he remembers. Later, he walks the long corridors of the castle, lost in thought. The portraits whisper softly as he passes, and the suits of armor clink in the wind. He wonders what Draco is doing, where he goes when he disappears, who he talks to, and he wonders if the cursed necklace was meant for Dumbledore. It's a quiet, chilling thought. Back in the common room, Hermione has fallen asleep in her chair, books open in her lap. Ron is half dozing nearby, mumbling about Quidditch in his dreams, and Harry sits by the fire, the flickering light casting shadows on his face. The flames whisper softly, like the pages of a book turning in the dark, and he knows, though he cannot say why, that the castle is holding its breath, waiting, watching for what he cannot yet see, but it's coming and he will be ready. Chapter 13. The Secret Riddle. The morning begins softly. Thin silver light spills across the common room, and the fire from the hearth has dwindled to warm embers. The castle awakens slowly, yawning in stone and wood. In the quiet of Gryffindor Tower, Harry prepares for something different. Not a lesson or a duel, but a journey into memory. Dumbledore has summoned him again. Harry walks alone through the corridors, his footsteps echoing on the flagstones. The portraits on the walls stir sleepily, watching him pass. There is a hush in the air, as though the castle itself knows what is coming. When he reaches the headmaster's office, the gargoyle steps aside with a quiet groan. Inside, the room is as it always is, rich with curiosities and ticking devices, filled with the soft rustle of magic in motion. Fawkes the Phoenix dozes silently, his scarlet and gold feathers glinting in the light. Dumbledore greets him with a calm, solemn warmth. No smiles today. "Are you ready, Harry?" he asks, and Harry, though he does not know what awaits, nods. They turn once more to the pensive, a basin of silvery light, a mirror to the past. Harry leans forward and falls into memory. This time, it is a quiet countryside and a small stone building, gray and lonesome among fields, a children's orphanage. It is the past, distant and dim, yet oddly close. The memory belongs to Dumbledore himself, and in it he is much younger. His hair is still auburn, his beard shorter, his expression sharper, but kind. He arrives at the orphanage with purpose. Inside, a stern matron greets him, Mrs. Cole. She is brisk and tired, her voice clipped by years of managing difficult children. When then Dumbledore introduces himself and explains his purpose, she is wary but intrigued. "Tom's not like the other children," she says carefully. "He's different." She pours a drink and tells stories, odd things, mysterious happenings, animals harmed, other children frightened, and always, Tom in the middle of it all, silent and watchful. Then she leads Dumbledore to him, Tom Riddle, 11 years old, dark-haired, pale, with eyes that don't quite match his age. He sits alone, straight-backed in a tidy little room. There's no fear in his face, only curiosity, edged with calculation. As Dumbledore enters, Tom studies him. They speak calmly. Tom is polite, but strange, detached. He talks of how he can make people hurt if they annoy him. He says he can talk to snakes. He says things disappear when he wants them to. Dumbledore listens, gently but firmly, asking careful questions. He does not flinch or recoil. He tells Tom what he is, a wizard. And for the first time, Tom shows true emotion, curiosity sharpened by hunger. He wants to go to Hogwarts. He wants to learn magic. But more than that, he wants power. He wants control. He speaks of keeping secrets, of not needing anyone. And Harry, watching from within the memory, feels a chill that is not from the air. There is something hollow in the boy, a coldness that goes beyond cruelty. When Dumbledore leaves the orphanage, the memory dims, and Harry rises again, back into the present, the office, the quiet ticking of magical devices. He looks at Dumbledore, his heart a little heavier. So he was always... Harry begins but cannot finish. Dumbledore nods gently. He was already set apart. He explains that Tom was no ordinary child, not simply because of his powers, but because of what he chose to do with them. Even at 11, he manipulated, punished, and dominated others. He wanted to be special. He needed it. Harry listens, and slowly the threads begin to form. The boy in the orphanage becomes the young man in Slytherin House, becomes the charming prefect, becomes Lord Voldemort. And the question hangs softly in the room. How does a boy become a monster? Dumbledore believes it matters. He is not showing Harry these memories out of curiosity, but necessity. Voldemort has a past, he says, and in that past lie clues, weaknesses, truths. Harry nods again, though the air feels heavier now. Outside, the window, the sky is pale and distant, and the world feels a little more fragile. When Harry leaves the office, his mind is quiet. He walks the corridor slowly, feeling the weight of what he has seen. A child, so young, already choosing the path of cruelty. He returns to Gryffindor Tower as dusk begins to settle, the lamps flickering to life. Inside, Ron is playing chess, and Hermione is curled up with a book. The fire burns warmly. It is peaceful, but Harry's heart is restless. He says nothing of the memory. Not yet. Instead, he watches the flames and thinks of Tom Riddle, how his voice had sounded, calm and cold, even at 11, and he wonders if evil always begins as silence, as a shadow in the corner of a room, as a lonely child with secrets. As night falls over Hogwarts, the stars blink into view one by one, and the castle dreams its long, enchanted dreams. But somewhere deep inside its stone walls, one student lies awake, staring into the dark, trying to fit the puzzle together. A child, a curse, a prince without a name, a riddle, still unsolved. Chapter 14. Felix Felicis. The day begins with mist clinging to the windows, the kind of soft gray veil that makes the castle feel wrapped in clouds. The warmth of Gryffindor Tower is like a hush around Harry, Ron, and Hermione as they gather at a table by the fire. The room is golden with early morning light, and the scent of parchment and breakfast lingers in the air. They speak in low tones about Dumbledore's lesson, about the boy who became Voldemort. But today holds something else, too. Today, Harry is to meet with Professor Slughorn. A quiet anticipation weaves through the corridors as Harry makes his way to the potions master's office. He carries no textbooks, only a hope that this time perhaps the truth will emerge. Slughorn, as always, welcomes him with open arms and fond words. The office is warm and cluttered, filled with bubbling vials and jars of thick, glowing substances. There is a plate of crystallized pineapple, a favored sweet, and a heavy armchair drawn near the fire. Harry sits, waiting. Slughorn chats cheerfully, but the undercurrent is clear. He is avoiding something. Harry brings up the past. Gently, carefully. The memory Dumbledore wants. The conversation about Horcruxes. But Slughorn stiffens. His smile fades, just slightly, and his eyes go distant. He refuses again. He will not share the memory, and once more, the conversation slips, away like smoke between fingers. Harry leaves the office feeling discouraged. Back in the common room, Hermione and Ron listen as he recounts what happened. Hermione is frustrated, analytical. She believes Slughorn is ashamed, that the truth is buried beneath guilt. Ron suggests brute force. Hermione dismisses it. They speak of Dumbledore's task and how Harry is meant to obtain the memory, the importance of it. The way it might hold the key to understanding Voldemort's darkest secrets. But Slughorn has built walls, and Harry doesn't know how to scale them. The subject drifts, and soon they find themselves in lighter waters. Quidditch looms, Gryffindors. Next match draws near, and the common room buzzes with excitement. Ron, still carrying the weight of his past insecurities, is nervous. His performance has faltered. The pressure is thick. Hermione suggests a practice session, and out they go into the brisk air of the pitch. The sky overhead is pale and heavy with unshed rain. Brooms rise into the chill, and the team moves like shadows through the mist. Ron struggles. His hands shake slightly. His saves are uneven. Ginny tries to encourage him. Demelza, another chaser, is quietly supportive, but Harry can see it in Ron's face. Doubt gnaws at him. Later, as they return to the castle, the three friends fall into step together. Hermione suggests cheering charms, subtle spells to lift Ron's performance. But Ron bristles. He wants to earn it, not fake it. He wants to win on his own merit. Harry says nothing. That night, as Ron lies asleep and Hermione reads beside the fire, Harry opens his trunk quietly and reaches for something. Small a vial. Inside, the golden liquid swirls like captured sunlight. Felix Felicis, liquid luck. Dumbledore had given it to him months ago, for a well-chosen answer in class. Harry studies it. He has not forgotten the power within it, how it can tip fate, charm coincidence, and make the impossible seem easy. The next morning, Gryffindor faces Slytherin. The air is electric with tension. The stands are packed. House banners wave. The sky is overcast but dry. As the team prepares in the changing room, nerves crackle in the air. Ron looks pale. He pulls on his keeper's gloves with stiff fingers. Hermione offers quiet words of encouragement, but he barely hears them. Then, Harry makes a decision. He shows Ron the vial of Felix Felicis, and in full view of the team, he pretends to pour it into Ron's drink. Ron watches. He drinks it, and something shifts. He thinks he's been given luck. Whether it's magic or confidence, his nerves begin to settle. The game begins. Brooms soar. The quaffle spins through the air. Bludgers fly like cannonballs, and Ron is brilliant. He guards the hoops with speed and precision. He dives, he reaches, he saves, time and time again. The crowd roars with every block. Slytherin presses harder, but Ron stands strong. In the end, it is Ginny who scores the final goal, and Gryffindor wins. The common room erupts that evening into joyful chaos. Fireworks from Fred and George's collection explode overhead. Someone has conjured a red and gold lion that dances across the walls. Ron is hoisted into the air, the hero, the savior. He smiles like he's never smiled before. Hermione, however, looks troubled. Later, when the cheering fades, she confronts Harry. "You gave him Felix Felicis?" she asks. Harry shakes his head. "No," he says. "I only pretended to." And Hermione stares at him for a long moment, then slowly smiles. "You really are the Prince of Deception," she says, a touch of admiration in her voice. But the warmth of the evening doesn't last. As Harry watches Ron being celebrated, he notices something else. A flicker of something sour in Hermione's expression when Ron is joined by Lavender Brown. Lavender throws her arms around him, Hermione's face falls, and quietly, she leaves the room. Harry follows her, but she brushes him off. In a quiet corner near the stairs, she disappears into a chair and opens a book, pretending not to care. But Harry sees it. The tight line of her mouth, the glisten in her eyes. Feelings unspoken. Hopes quietly bruised. The night continues, joyful and loud. But within the flickering firelight, hearts stir quietly. Some lifted by luck, others quietly aching. The castle dreams on, its old walls echoing with laughter and longing, while the golden vial of Felix Felicis rests untouched in Harry's pocket, waiting for the day he truly needs it. Chapter 15. The Unbreakable Vow. The castle lies wrapped in a soft, early winter stillness. Outside the windows, frost has begun to trace delicate fingers across the glass, and the air carries a faint scent of snow. Inside the common room, the fires have burned low. The students' joy from Gryffindor's victory has quieted, though traces of celebration linger in the form of confetti charms and half-sung songs echoing faintly from the dormitories. Harry watches Ron and Lavender grow ever closer. Whispers, shared in corners, hands brushing beneath tables, the occasional stifled giggle. And beside him, Hermione grows quieter, her heart folded inward like a letter never sent. She hides behind books and clever remarks. But the ache is there, visible to Harry in the still moments, and the way her eyes linger on Ron when she thinks no one is looking. Still, Harry has other concerns as well. Slughorn's memory remains elusive, and time feels like it is winding tighter, a string stretched between fate and fear. One evening, Harry makes his way to Dumbledore's office for another lesson. The headmaster is waiting, calm as ever, a shimmer of candlelight dancing across his half-moon spectacles. His desk is tidy, the pensive ready, its silvery surface stirring like a moonlit lake. Tonight, they dive once more into memory. Not Slughorn's, but another's, a borrowed glimpse into the past. This time, they journey to a grand and solemn room within the Ministry of Magic. A younger version of a wizard sits before a dark panel of officials. His name is Gaunt. He is Voldemort's uncle. The scene is unsettling. Morphin, wild-eyed and erratic, speaks of a boy with dark hair who visited their home. A boy who spoke Parseltongue. A boy who left, and shortly thereafter, 2 muggles. Tom, Riddle's father and grandparents, were found dead in their home. The Ministry believes Morphin did it. But in the shadows of the memory, Dumbledore sees what Harry now begins to suspect. Tom Riddle, the boy who became Voldemort, had already begun crafting a mask for the world, a mask of charm and cleverness, beneath which something cold and merciless took root. He framed Morphin. He stole the wand, altered memories, and in doing so, he severed his final ties to his Muggle family. Harry returns from the pensieve, chilled to the bone. Dumbledore watches him with solemn eyes. Voldemort was already highly gifted, the headmaster says quietly. But more than that, he was ruthless. These glimpses into the past are like breadcrumbs in the forest, small, quiet truths that lead ever deeper into the dark heart of Tom Riddle's transformation. Back in the present, winter continues, its slow arrival. Snow falls one morning, thick and soft, blanketing the grounds in silence. Classes continue. Homework piles high. Life at Hogwarts weaves on, even as darker threads begin to wind themselves into the seams. One day, while Harry walks the corridor, he sees Malfoy slip away down a side passage. There's something secretive about the boy's gait. His head down, his steps fast. Harry's suspicions about Draco deepen. He shares them with Ron and Hermione. Ron shrugs. Hermione is doubtful, but Harry knows. He's seen Malfoy's eyes, haunted, determined. And now, more than ever, he believes Draco is involved in something dangerous. Later, an opportunity arises. Slughorn invites Harry to a small, exclusive Christmas gathering. Ron and Hermione are invited too. It's to be a pleasant event, filled with chatter and sweets, music and merriment. But first, the trio visits the burrow. The Weasleys' home is warm and chaotic as ever. Mrs. Weasley hums as she stirs sauces. Mr. Weasley tinkers with muggle gadgets. The smell of cinnamon and firewood fills the air. Fairy lights twinkle in the corners. And Ginny, full of spark and laughter, brightens every room she enters. Harry feels at home here. But there are shadows even in this light. Bill brings home his fiancée, Fleur Delacour, whose beauty and arrogance ruffle Mrs. Weasley and Ginny alike. The house echoes with soft tension. Then, as snow falls thick outside the window panes, Harry prepares for Slughorn's party. He walks with Luna Lovegood as his guest. Gentle, dreamy Luna, with her distant smile and silver robes that shimmer like moonlight on snow. The party is filled with golden light and fine music. Slughorn beams with pride at his chosen students, handing out mead and mince pies, but beneath the merriment, Harry is alert, and then he sees him, Draco Malfoy, lurking near the door, alone and tense. Snape appears soon after. Harry listens from the shadows of the corridor beyond. He overhears a sliver of conversation between the two Slytherins. Draco is angry, defensive. Snape is offering help. "I swore to protect you," he says quietly. "I made the unbreakable vow." Harry's heart pounds. An unbreakable vow. It's more than words. It's magic so binding that to break it is to die. And Snape has made one with Narcissa Malfoy to protect Draco, to help him succeed, to complete some task. Harry tells Ron and Hermione immediately. They react with disbelief. Hermione points out that Dumbledore trusts Snape, that there must be more to the story, but Harry's gut is certain. Draco is on a mission. And Snape, despite Dumbledore's faith, may be aiding him. As the holidays deepen and snow blankets every inch of the grounds, this truth lingers like frost on glass, clear and cold. There are plans moving beneath the surface, and the threads of fate are winding tighter around Draco Malfoy, whatever he has been tasked with. Harry knows it is deadly, and it is coming closer. The chapter ends not in thunder, but in silence. Just a quiet snowfall outside the castle windows, and the faint sound of bells echoing from the farthest towers. The season turns and the shadows lengthen. Chapter 16. A Very Frosty Christmas. The holidays have arrived, but unlike previous years filled with warmth and cheer, there's a chill this time that settles far beyond the snow outside. It weaves through conversations, lingers behind glances, and curls in the corners of every warm fire. Harry has returned to the burrow with Ron and Hermione. The Weasley home, as always, is charmingly cluttered and full of life. Simmering pots, floating decorations, and knitted jumpers drying by the fire. But something's different this year. Tensions swirl like smoke above the hearth. Bill's fiancée, Fleur Delacour, has arrived, her beauty still dazzling, her manner sharp and proud. Mrs. Weasley is trying, really trying, but her smiles are tight, and her patience is fraying. Ginny, too, is vocal in her distaste for Fleur, often referring to her as Phlegm, a nickname that causes Hermione to raise her eyebrows in disapproval. Fleur remains unbothered, seemingly untouched by the discomfort she creates in the house, speaking sweetly to Bill and brushing off the coldness around her with an air of French indifference. Amid this domestic discord, Harry finds himself navigating a different kind of tension. Quiet, unspoken, and lingering in the air whenever Ginny enters the room. There's a light in her laughter that draws him, a fire in her words that makes him smile before he realizes why. And yet, she's with Dean. A fact that seems to gnaw gently at the corners of Harry's thoughts like a draft. Beneath the door, Hermione, too, is quieter than usual. She helps Mrs. Weasley cook and decorate, her hands busy but her mind elsewhere. Her eyes flick often to Ron, who is still deep in the throes of his new relationship with Lavender Brown. Lavender sends him fluttering notes, kisses him in doorways, and whispers sweet nothings into his ear in the quiet of the sitting room. Ron seems to bask in the attention, but something about it rings hollow. Hermione watches, silent but wounded, and Harry, caught between them, feels the sting of the invisible threads that tug and twist between friends who are more than just friends, but less than something certain. On Christmas morning, the house is full of laughter, torn wrapping paper, and the rich scent of cinnamon and pine. Gifts are exchanged, homemade jumpers, sweets, and little thoughtful tokens. Harry receives a present from Dobby, an elaborately wrapped package containing socks of his own creation, mismatched and made with love. Harry smiles softly, touched, yet beneath the joy, a shadow still lingers. The attack on Katie Bell, the overheard words between Snape and Malfoy, the memory that Slughorn still refuses to share. Dumbledore's lessons feel like puzzle pieces still scattered on the table, and Harry is trying to fit them together in the dim light of suspicion and fear. Later, the warmth of the burrow is interrupted by a visit from Minister Scrimgeour. He arrives stiffly, accompanied by Percy Weasley, who avoids looking at his mother, as she watches him with sad, hopeful eyes. Scrimgeour pulls Harry aside. He speaks with measured calmness, and smiles that don't quite reach his eyes. He wants something from Harry, not his wand. Not his knowledge, but his name. Scrimgeour asks him to publicly support the Ministry to become a symbol of hope as they attempt to maintain control over a world slowly tipping into chaos. But Harry, steadfast, loyal, and shaped by loss, refuses. He sees the truth in Scrimgeour's words, that the Ministry doesn't want real help. It wants a hero it can parade about like a trophy. A teenager draped in smiles while the real war rages on behind closed doors. He won't do it. He tells the Minister that he is Dumbledore's man through and through. Scrimgeour's eyes harden. The meeting ends with cool formality and unspoken disappointment. When Harry returns to the burrow, the laughter is quieter now. The evening has deepened, and outside the window, snow continues to fall, soft and silent. As night settles in, the warmth of the hearth glows against the frost, and the Weasley family, despite their small tensions and unspoken hurts, gathers together. There's something steady in that closeness, a kind of stubborn love that holds fast even through bickering and misunderstandings. And Harry, sitting beside Ginny, watching Hermione, glance once more at Ron, feels the shifting of the world, of relationships, of loyalties, of time itself. Christmas this year feels different, not just colder, but older, like a quiet breath taken before the storm, like the hush before a door opens. To something that cannot be undone. Chapter 17, a sluggish memory. The holidays melt away like frost beneath sunlight, and the students return to the castle bundled in scarves and laughter, the echoes of Christmas lingering like the scent of pine in the folds of their cloaks. But Harry's heart is heavy. He walks through the halls with a mind full of fragments, images of Draco in the shadows, Slughorn's evasion, and Dumbledore's quiet eyes watching from behind his spectacles. There is something he is meant to learn, something hidden behind a memory that will not come clean. Classes begin anew, and with them, the rhythm of Hogwarts life resumes. Early mornings, enchanted textbooks, the whisper of quills, and the clink of goblets in the great hall. Potions remains a curious mix of wonder and suspicion. With the Half-Blood Prince's annotated book, Harry continues to excel. Instructions scribbled in the margins guide his hand like a ghostly tutor, sharp, precise, and oddly poetic. But Hermione is growing frustrated. She does not trust the book. Her brows knit when Harry shows her a newly successful potion, and her silence speaks volumes. She suspects, perhaps rightly, that there is danger in relying too heavily on unknown magic. Still, Harry persists. And then, one day a new potion awaits them in class, a curious mixture that glows softly in its cauldron. Felix Felicis. Liquid luck. Slughorn explains it gently, his voice light and inviting. The potion, he says, grants the drinker a short period of good fortune, when everything seems to fall perfectly into place. Harry watches it swirl with quiet longing, but the real focus of his thoughts remains Slughorn himself. Dumbledore has asked him to retrieve a memory, one crucial to understanding Voldemort's past. But every time Harry tries, Slughorn slips away, his smile tight, his eyes guarded. The memory Harry does see, shared by Dumbledore in their next lesson, is cloudy, altered. Slughorn sits in a chair, surrounded by students, his face red with wine and flattery. Tom Riddle leans forward, calm and curious, asking a single question. About Horcruxes, and then the memory shifts, blurs. Slughorn's voice grows high and false. I don't know anything about that, he says in a voice not quite his own. It's a lie. A patchwork version of the past, sewn together by fear. Dumbledore tells Harry plainly, this is not the original memory. Slughorn has tampered with it, out of guilt or terror or both. Harry watches Dumbledore carefully. There is a weariness to the old wizard, like the slow fading of a great flame, yet his resolve is firm. He believes Harry is the one person who might convince Slughorn to surrender the truth. But Harry feels the weight of this task pressed down on him like the sky before a storm. How can he persuade a man so guarded? How can he untangle the knot of shame and fear that Slughorn has buried for so long? Still he tries. After class one day, he approaches the professor with gentle curiosity. Slughorn laughs nervously. He changes the subject, offers candied pineapples and anecdotes from his time teaching famous witches and wizards. But behind his jolly exterior, Harry senses the unease. Slughorn is afraid of the memory, afraid of what it reveals, and most of all, afraid of what it might mean for the future if it's brought to light. Later, in the quiet of the common room, Harry confides in Ron and Hermione. He tells them of the altered memory, of Dumbledore's plea, of his repeated failures to coax the truth. Hermione listens carefully. She suggests a gentler approach, empathy perhaps, or timing, maybe even patience. Ron, for once, offers little. He is preoccupied. His relationship with Lavender is beginning to fray. The endless affection, once flattering, now feels stifling, and he keeps stealing glances at Hermione when he thinks no one sees. The triangle tightens, wordless and tender, and through it all, Harry continues to study the Half-Blood Prince's book. His trust in it grows, even as Hermione's warnings echo faintly in the background. The book whispers answers, suggests shortcuts, offers silent wisdom in the margins, but nothing it says can help him retrieve the truth from Slughorn. Only courage, kindness, and perhaps something else entirely. Timing. And so Harry waits. He watches. He considers. He knows that one day, perhaps, not far from now, he'll have to use everything he's learned, not just from books, but from people, to bring that truth into the light. For now, though, he walks the long, dark corridors of the castle in thought. The lanterns flicker. The air grows colder, and far beneath the castle stones, secrets slumber still, but not forever. Chapter 18. Birthday Surprises. The cold days continue, crisp and clear. The lake is edged with frost, and the castle's high windows sparkle with the reflection of winter sun. Life at Hogwarts hums along, quietly threaded with unease. Rumors drift like fallen leaves across the common rooms and corridors, whispers of attacks, disappearances, and dark signs in the outside world. But in the still heart of the castle, a birthday arrives. Ron's 17th, a milestone. Coming of age in the wizarding world brings with it a new sense of identity, of independence. The right to perform magic outside school, the ability to apparate, the kind of freedom that carries both excitement and quiet responsibility. Ron wakes to find his bed surrounded by his friends, Harry grinning, Hermione smiling softly. Lavender, practically glowing with adoration, presents him with a necklace. That says "my sweetheart" in glittering letters. Ron's eyes widen and he awkwardly thanks her. But something in his voice has dulled, just a shade, the kind of change that only someone watching closely might notice. Later, at breakfast, the Gryffindor table is festive with chatter and gifts. Harry gives Ron a new keeper's helmet, one that's a little flashier than necessary, but undeniably cool. Hermione's gift is more subtle. A book with Ron's name elegantly etched on the inside cover. Her handwriting curls gently like a breath across parchment. Ron thanks them both, and though he smiles, his glance at Hermione lingers just a moment longer than it should. But as the morning unfolds, the quiet joy of the birthday takes an unexpected turn. Ron, seemingly eager to prove something, or perhaps simply to indulge, suddenly consumes a box of chocolates that had been left behind, unlabeled. Within moments, his eyes glaze slightly, his voice softens. He begins talking dreamily, not to Hermione or Lavender, but to Romilda Vane. He's enchanted. A love potion, meant for Harry. A wave of awkward laughter follows, but Harry quickly leads Ron to Professor Slughorn, hoping the potioneer can brew up an antidote. Slughorn chuckles when he hears what's happened. He prepares the antidote with practiced ease and gives Ron a drink. The effects vanish almost immediately. Ron blinks, looking confused, but the laughter, once gentle, fades quickly into something colder, because Slughorn offers him a celebratory drink, a toast, just a small glass of mead. And moments later, Ron gasps. His body twists, his limbs seize, he collapses. Time seems to freeze, a heartbeat of disbelief, of fear. Harry acts without thinking. He remembers the bezoar, tucked away, a suggestion once offered by the Half-Blood Prince, now echoing in the back of his mind. He plunges it into Ron's mouth. Silence, then breath. Slughorn trembles with shock. He hadn't realized the bottle, had been poisoned, intended for someone else. Ron lies unconscious, pale and unmoving, but alive. Madame Pomfrey rushes him to the hospital wing. Lavender hovers, weeping and frantic. Hermione stands silently, her face drawn and pale, her eyes distant and dark with worry. Harry waits. Time stretches, quiet and still, as though the world is holding its breath. And as Ron sleeps in the hospital bed, with his friends surrounding him, a kind of clarity begins to unfold. Not just about the danger they're in, that much has been clear for some time, but about the quiet connections between hearts. Because as Lavender leans over Ron, whispering his name, Hermione steps back, and in that moment, Harry sees it. The truth. Not spoken aloud, not even truly acknowledged, but visible in the stillness of Hermione's posture, in the sadness that clings to her like shadow. She cares deeply for Ron. She has for a long time. And this brush with loss, has pulled the truth like thread from cloth. Later, when the panic has passed and Ron's breathing grows steady, Harry walks through the quiet castle. His thoughts swirl. Who poisoned the bottle? Was it meant for Dumbledore? Was it meant for him? The questions linger like mist, but one thing is certain. The attacks are becoming bolder, more reckless, closer. The walls of Hogwarts may be ancient and enchanted, but they are no longer impenetrable. Something is slipping through, something dark and determined. And as Harry stands at the window, watching snowflakes drift like falling stars across the grounds, he knows they are running out of time. But for now, Ron is safe. And in that single truth, there is a kind of warmth, a flicker of light in the growing shadows. Chapter 19. Elf Tales. The castle settles again. Ron, still pale and recovering, rests in the hospital wing beneath the watchful care of Madame Pomfrey. Lavender visits often, fussing over his every breath and blink, while Hermione keeps a quiet, deliberate distance. There is a tension there, unspoken and heavy, like mist clinging to window panes. Harry, meanwhile, continues to search for answers. The poisoned mead has shaken him. It is a reminder that danger isn't just on the edges of the world. It has found its way inside the walls of Hogwarts. Who had sent it? Why? The mead had come from Slughorn, meant for Dumbledore, he claimed. AI. Gift he'd forgotten to deliver. But it raises too many questions, and answers are slow to surface. Still, Harry feels time slipping. And then there is the matter of Draco Malfoy. That quiet, brooding presence that seems to flit like a shadow through Harry's every waking thought. Something is wrong. He sees it in Draco's face, thinner than before, in the tightness around his eyes, in the way he vanishes for hours without explanation. The Marauder's map reveals nothing. Draco's name disappears altogether at times, as though he's no longer in the castle. Harry can feel the truth just out of reach, like a puzzle with one missing piece. In the common room, he speaks with Hermione and Ginny about it. Ginny, sharp and quick, suggests that Draco is using the Room of Requirement. It cannot be mapped, after all. It has no fixed form. That's why Draco's name disappears. It's a brilliant deduction, and it sets Harry thinking. The room, of course. But finding it in use is another challenge entirely. Still, that thread leads to another, and it is Dobby, the house elf with eyes like moons, who offers more. When Harry turns to Dobby and Creature, asking them to follow Draco's movements, the elves agree, though Creature grumbles with his usual disdain for blood, traitors, and Harry's orders. Dobby, by contrast, is enthusiastic. Dobby is happy to help Harry Potter, sir. He squeaks, his ears twitching with excitement. And so the two elves begin their secret task, moving through the walls of Hogwarts, slipping unseen through doorways and along stone corridors, ever watchful. They report back, solemnly. Draco has been vanishing into the room of requirement again and again. Harry listens, his suspicions deepening like twilight. But it isn't only Draco's mystery that fills his mind. The looming memory, Slughorn's guarded secret, remains unsolved. Dumbledore, reminds Harry gently, this memory must be recovered. It holds a key to understanding Voldemort's true nature, and time is moving on. But how to retrieve it? Hermione, always thoughtful, offers the idea that Slughorn may be swayed not by pressure or confrontation, but by the right moment, the right atmosphere, perhaps with a little help from Felix Felicis. The tiny vial of liquid luck rests in Harry's possession still, untouched, glimmering faintly like captured sunshine. A tempting solution. But not yet. Not yet. For now he focuses on Quidditch. The match looms ahead. Ron, still recovering, returns to the field with uncertainty. His strength is not fully restored, and Hermione, seeing his anxiety, makes a quiet decision. She pretends to slip a few drops of Felix Felicis into his drink before the match. Ron drinks it, unaware that it's nothing more than pumpkin juice. But he believes, and belief, it turns out, is enough. He plays with fire in his veins, confident, sharp, and unshakable. He blocks every goal with surprising grace, and Gryffindor wins. The crowd cheers. The common room bursts into celebration. But the aftermath is tangled. Lavender throws herself into Ron's arms, kissing him before a crowd of cheering students. Hermione watches from the shadows, her face unreadable, before slipping quietly away. Later, in the quiet of the common room, Harry finds her alone. She is trying to pretend nothing is wrong. But the hurt is there, buried beneath her words, in the way she twists her fingers together, in the flicker of her eyes. Harry doesn't press her. He simply sits beside her, and in that silence, their friendship becomes something stronger, bound not just by laughter and adventures, but by the quiet ache of growing up. The castle, meanwhile, seems to lean into winter. Snow falls like whispers. The firelight in the common room casts long, soft shadows. The portraits murmur gently in their frames, and the suits of armor clink faintly as they shift in the cold. But not all is calm. Something is happening, just beyond reach. In the darkness, Draco continues to vanish into the room of requirement. And elsewhere, danger coils tighter. The poisoned mead, the cursed necklace. These are not accidents. They are warnings. Someone is moving in secret. Someone with a plan. And the clock is ticking. But in the heart of it all, as friendships strain and mysteries deepen, the golden thread of loyalty glows ever brighter. In Harry. In Hermione. In the quiet work of house elves, and even perhaps in those who have yet to show their hand. Chapter 20. Lord Voldemort's Request. A quiet summons comes. Dumbledore requests Harry's presence once again. It is evening, and the light in the tower is golden, low, flickering like candle flames dancing along the stone. The headmaster stands at the window, gazing into the distance, his silhouette long and quiet against the fading sky. His voice, when he turns to speak, is soft, purposeful. There is something deeper beneath it now. Urgency, perhaps. A kind of sorrow. He tells Harry they will revisit a memory, one he himself holds, and it will paint a picture, not of the boy Voldemort once was, nor of the dark man he has become, but of the moment in between. of the request that shaped everything that followed. Together, they step into the pensive. The memory swirls to life. We find ourselves at Hogwarts, many years ago. The office is much the same, but the light is older, dimmer, touched by dust and time. Dumbledore sits behind his desk, younger, though already wearing the same wise calm. A fire crackles softly at his side. There is a knock at the door, and in steps Tom Riddle. But this is not the pale, serpentine-faced man Harry once met. This Tom is elegant, polished, handsome even. His dark hair frames a face that is smooth and symmetrical. His eyes, though, still hold that same chilling emptiness, an absence of warmth, a hunger for control. He is no longer a student, he is now a young man, working at Borgin and Burke's, though he presents this fact delicately with polite detachment. He has come, he says, to request a position at Hogwarts, to teach defense against. The dark arts Dumbledore listens, his face unreadable. He is polite, respectful, but he does not agree. He tells Tom that the position is not open, that there are other candidates, that he cannot accept. Tom's mask does not slip, not fully, but his eyes darken. His tone becomes brittle, sharpened at the edges. He tries again, cloaking his words in charm. He speaks of his love for the school, of his desire to return, but Dumbledore sees through it. He always has. There is silence between them, tense, heavy, and then Tom leaves. Not in anger, not openly, but with a cool finality that feels colder than rage. Dumbledore, watching him go, seems to understand that something has changed, that a turning has occurred. As the memory fades, the darkness curls in. Back in the present, Dumbledore stands quietly beside Harry, the weight of that long-ago meeting still etched in his voice. He tells Harry that after Tom was refused the position, strange things began to happen. Every defense against the dark arts teacher since that day has lasted only a year, a curse perhaps. Placed by Voldemort himself, a slow unraveling of safety and stability, a warning that power denied will still find a way to take root. But there is more. Dumbledore reveals that on the night of that visit, Tom was no ordinary young man. He had already begun splitting his soul. He had already hidden pieces of himself in the shadows of the world. The request to teach had not been genuine. It had been strategic. He sought access to something within the school, or perhaps to the school itself, as a place of influence, secrecy, and power. Dumbledore pauses, then gently, he tells Harry what he fears. Voldemort created more than one Horcrux. Not just the diary from Ginny's first year, but several. A shattering of the soul into pieces so small, so spread, that death itself could not reclaim him. And somewhere, buried, in that broken past lies the key to his undoing. Dumbledore asks Harry to keep looking, to keep searching for Slughorn's true memory, the one that explains exactly how many Horcruxes Voldemort intended to make. That number matters. It matters more than Harry yet understands, but time, once again, is pressing in. As they part, Harry feels the weight of the hour settle upon him. This war is not just of spells and duels. It is a war of memories, of truths buried deep within people's hearts. And unless he can gather them, gently, patiently, wisely, the path ahead will remain obscured. Outside the tower, night unfolds like a velvet cloak. The stars glimmer faintly overhead, and the wind murmurs against the castle walls. Inside, Harry walks slowly back through the corridors, his thoughts heavy with what he has seen. The boy who had once been Tom. the young man who had stood in Dumbledore's office, cloaked in charm and ambition and the dark shape he has become. But even in the quiet, there is still hope. Because while Voldemort has chosen to fracture his soul, Harry has chosen to build his, with friendship, with loyalty, with love. And those, though quiet, are powerful weapons. Chapter 21. The Unknowable Room. In the days that follow Dumbledore's memory, the air in Hogwarts feels charged with something invisible. Tension, curiosity, and purpose, curling like ivy through the corridors. Harry, more than ever, is drawn to one puzzle, the Room of Requirement. Draco Malfoy is using it. That much he knows, but the room is elusive. It changes its shape, its position, its very nature to fit the needs of the one who seeks it. And Draco knows how to make it hide him. Each time Harry passes the corridor on the 7th floor, where he knows the entrance lies, he tries something new. He paces before the blank stretch of wall, focusing with all his might. I need to see what Malfoy's doing. I need to see the room he uses. I need to catch him. But nothing appears. The wall remains smooth and still, as if unaware of his presence. He tries again and again, morning, evening, between classes, and always. Nothing. The room does not respond to spying. It does not yield to force. And Harry begins to understand something subtle and frustrating. The Room of Requirement only gives itself when the seeker's need is pure, when it aligns with the magic of intention. Trying to reveal someone else's secret is not enough. Still, Harry persists. Meanwhile, the school flows on around him. Hermione and Ron continue their quiet dance. Tension, avoidance, moments of warmth, followed by sudden frost. Lavender's presence complicates things. Her need for attention, for Ron's constant validation, grows louder. Ron, caught in between, begins to look worn, and Hermione, though she hides it well, is quietly fraying at the edges. Harry notices, but says little. He is too consumed with Draco. And then comes a discovery. Dobby and Creature return to him with news. They have followed Malfoy, and though they cannot enter the Room of Requirement themselves, they have watched his comings and goings. He is there, often, for hours, slipping away and returning exhausted, pale, sometimes with smudges of soot on his robes. Something is being built, or repaired. The elves do not know what, but it is clear. Malfoy is working on something in secret. Something important, and he is alone. Dobby, with his oversized eyes and hopeful voice, offers Harry a new idea. He tells him that the room can become a place for hiding things. Long ago, when Dobby served other masters, he heard tales of students who used the room to conceal their contraband, their secrets. A room full of forgotten items, a place where things go to vanish. Harry wonders, could Malfoy be using that version of the room? It's possible. But how to force the room to show him that exact version? Hermione, when told, finds the theory plausible. She suggests that if Harry can somehow align his intention to want to find a hidden place, perhaps the room will yield, but it's risky and time-consuming. So, Harry continues to try. He walks past the wall with Dobby's words in mind. I need a place to hide something. I need to see where things are hidden. I need to uncover secrets. Still, the door does not appear. It becomes clear. Malfoy is using the room in a very specific way, and whatever his need is, it's keeping the space locked against others. Frustration gnaws at Harry, and beneath it all, he begins to notice something else. Malfoy looks worse. thinner than before. Hollow-eyed, even, more withdrawn. In the great hall, his gaze flickers nervously toward the staff table. His hands twitch when he thinks no one is watching. There is no smugness in him now, only pressure, as though the weight of something terrible is pressing on his shoulders. Harry watches. He sees the signs. And in the deepest part of him, he begins to feel it. Not just suspicion, but a cold certainty. Draco is up to something serious, and he is very, very afraid. Back in the Gryffindor common room, Harry shares his thoughts with Ron and Hermione. But Ron, caught between Quidditch and Lavenders, clinginess is distracted. Hermione, though more engaged, reminds him not to jump to conclusions without proof. Just because Malfoy looks troubled, she says softly, doesn't mean he's behind everything. Harry doesn't argue, but in his heart, the feeling persists. Outside, the wind blows hard across the turrets of the school. Snowflakes dance past the windows, and the firelight flickers long into the night. In his dreams, Harry sees doors that vanish when he reaches for them. He hears footsteps echoing in empty corridors, and somewhere, in the heart of the castle, something is moving, building, waiting. He wakes with a start and decides he'll keep trying. Every day, until the room yields its truth. Because secrets do not stay hidden forever. Not even in Hogwarts. Chapter 22. After the Burial. Winter breathes its stillness across the grounds of Hogwarts. The days grow shorter, the air sharp, and even the sky seems subdued. Gray clouds hanging low like woolen drapes across the castle towers. Hagrid is grieving, and in the great sweep of snow-dusted forest, his sorrow is as quiet and deep as the earth itself. Aragog is dead. The great spider, the ancient Acromantula, has passed on at last, deep within the shadows of the forbidden forest. Hagrid mourns him. To others, Aragog had been terrifying. A creature, of sharp legs and clicking mandibles. But to Hagrid, he was a friend. A misunderstood companion. And so, even in death, he honors him. Harry learns of the burial through Slughorn. A curious thing that, because Slughorn, ever the collector of connections, is interested not in the spider's passing itself, but in what it offers. Acromantula venom is rare and incredibly valuable. So when Slughorn learns that Hagrid is planning to bury the creature, he expresses interest. And Harry, who still carries Dumbledore's task deep in his heart, to obtain the real memory from Slughorn about Horcruxes, sees an opportunity, an unusual one to be sure, but an opening. He proposes that they go together to visit Hagrid to attend the burial. Slughorn hesitates at first, but Harry gently persuades him. Not with threats or pressure, but with charm, and a little of his mother's legacy. Lily Potter had been one of Slughorn's favorites, after all. Her name still softens him, and so, under cover of darkness, they go. Harry borrows his invisibility cloak. And with Slughorn shuffling alongside and Fang's mournful barking echoing through the trees, they slip through the snowy night and into the edges of the forbidden forest. They find Hagrid outside his hut, digging. The earth is hard. Thor, task slow and heavy. Beside him lies the curled, unmoving form of Aragog, now limp, his many legs drawn inward like dried branches. His body, once fearsome, now simply still. Hagrid's eyes are red, his voice thick. He greets them with a kind of hollow warmth, touched by gratitude that someone has come. Together, the three men, one tall and bearded, one small and rotund, and, one still growing into manhood, stand beside the grave, and they bury Aragog. It is a quiet ritual, no grand speeches, just the sound of shovels against frozen earth, just the hush of the forest all around them. Afterward, they return to Hagrid's hut, where the fire crackles and the air grows warmer, and there, Slughorn begins to loosen. A glass of mead, then another. He chuckles. He reminisces. He relaxes. And Harry watches, waits, listens. Then, softly, he speaks. He talks of his mother, of Lily. He tells Slughorn how grateful he is to hear stories of her. How precious those memories are. Slughorn, warmed by drink and nostalgia, leans back, his face flushed with fondness, and Harry gently begins to ask the question again. About Horcruxes, not with demand, but with quiet curiosity, with grief in his voice, with vulnerability. He speaks of Voldemort's power, of how he cannot understand it fully, of how Dumbledore is trusting him, and how he feels the weight of that trust. And then, he says something that softens everything. He speaks of his mother again, and he says, "She'd have been disappointed in me, wouldn't she?" Slughorn freezes, his eyes well with sudden painful emotion. And in that moment, Harry sees the man's guilt, not about Horcruxes alone, but about Lily, about the war, about what he did not stop. He trembles, and then, finally, he gives Harry the true memory. It comes softly, handed over with a shaking hand and a whispered, "Do what you have to do." And with that, a piece of the great puzzle is now complete. Harry returns to the castle. He gives the memory to Dumbledore, who accepts it with quiet reverence, and together they peer into the truth, into the swirling gray of recollection. Slughorn's voice is calm, almost curious in the memory. He tells a young Tom Riddle about Horcruxes. He explains that one Horcrux splits the soul. But Voldemort, Tom, asks, "What about 7? 7 pieces of soul, the most powerful magic, and the most unnatural." Slughorn is horrified, but Tom Riddle even then is smiling. From this truth, Dumbledore confirms what he has long suspected. Voldemort did not stop at 1 Horcrux, nor even 2. He created 6. 6 pieces of soul, hidden in objects across the world. 7. If you include the piece left within his own body, a soul torn beyond repair. And now, they must find each one, destroy them. Only then can Voldemort be truly defeated. The task is enormous, impossible, almost. But Harry feels something rising within him. Not fear exactly, but a kind of quiet determination. He will do this. He must. And somewhere in the quiet chambers of the castle, Hagrid sits by the fire, thinking of Aragog, of friendship, of loss, and of how even the darkest creatures deserve a farewell. In the world of shadows and secrets, there is still room for memory, still room for honor, and even beneath a snowy grave, in the forest, a small thread of the past can change the path ahead. Chapter 23. Horcruxes. The hour is late. The torches in the castle burn low, casting long shadows on stone walls that have seen centuries unfold. And in the quiet of the headmaster's office, a silver basin shimmers softly on the desk. The pensive, a vessel for memory, and now for revelation. Harry sits across from Dumbledore, the weight of the moment held in the hush between them. Outside the tall windows, night has cloaked the world in a velvet stillness, and the stars seem to wait too, watching, listening. Dumbledore begins gently. There is no drama in his voice, only calm resolve. He tells Harry that the memory Slughorn, finally provided, has confirmed what he feared. Voldemort intended to split his soul into 7 parts, not just to hide, but to make himself invincible. 7 Horcruxes, 6 hidden outside himself, 1 tethered to the body that remains. Harry listens, each word a small key unlocking a larger truth. A Horcrux, Dumbledore explains, is the darkest of dark magic, created by committing murder, ripping the soul apart in violence, and then hiding that fragment within an object, anchoring it to the world of the living. To destroy a Horcrux is to destroy a piece of Voldemort's soul. Each one must be found, and broken before Voldemort himself can be made mortal again. The task is immense. But the road has already begun. Dumbledore recounts the Horcruxes they have identified, or at least suspect. The first, Tom Riddle's diary, already destroyed in Sot. Harry's second year, Harry remembers it vividly. The ink, the voice, the terrifying shadow of a boy from the past. The second, a ring once belonging to Marvolo Gaunt, Voldemort's grandfather. Dumbledore himself had found it and destroyed it, though at great personal cost. Harry notices again the blackened, damaged hand Dumbledore bears. The curse from the ring is still with him, even if subdued, and now they must seek more. Dumbledore speaks of Voldemort's preference for objects of meaning, powerful, ancient items. He liked trophies. He liked grandeur. The next possible Horcrux, a locket, once belonging to Salazar Slytherin. Dumbledore tells the story of the Gaunt family, descendants of Slytherin himself. A family twisted by obsession, pride, and madness. He had found the ring among their ruins. And the locket, it once rested in the possession of a woman named Hepzibah Smith, a collector of magical antiques. Dumbledore suspects Tom Riddle, then working at Borgin and Burke's, murdered her and stole the locket. Later, the locket turned up in the hands of a poor, desperate woman named Merope Gaunt, Voldemort's mother, who sold it to survive. It passed, through hands forgotten, until somehow it became something more. A vessel, a Horcrux. And now, it must be found. Dumbledore speaks of another, possibly Helga Hufflepuff's cup, also owned by Hepzibah Smith. Tom coveted it. He desired objects tied to the founders of Hogwarts, wanting to place pieces of himself into the most sacred artifacts of wizarding history. There are still more possible Horcruxes, perhaps something of Ravenclaw's. And the 6th, Dumbledore is not sure. But he believes the 7th part, the piece that still resides within Voldemort, is not housed in any object. It lives inside Voldemort's twisted form, and so Harry begins to understand. This quest is no longer just about resisting darkness. It is about dismantling it, piece by piece. Dumbledore tells him that he has been searching for the next Horcrux. Believes he may have found it, and when the time is right, he will ask Harry to join him. Not just in study, but in action, in the destruction of that which cannot be allowed to remain. Harry feels no fear, only purpose. His mother and father's faces flash in his mind. Cedric, Sirius, all who have been lost. He will see this through. He must. Dumbledore smiles softly, not proudly, but gently, as if seeing the boy before him not only as Harry Potter, the chosen one, but as the child who once sat beneath the Sorting Hat, full of hope and heart. The conversation shifts. They speak of Slughorn. Dumbledore praises Harry, not just for acquiring the memory, but for doing so with kindness, with empathy. Not all victories require force. Sometimes the quietest winds are the most powerful of all. Then, as the fire dims and the wind brushes against the tower's windows, Dumbledore leans back. There is still so much to do, but the first steps have been taken. Outside, the castle sleeps. The students dream, and somewhere in a secret place hidden from the eyes of even the most powerful wizards, a locket glows faintly with a heartbeat not its own. Voldemort does not yet know that the search has begun, that his soul is being unraveled, but the shadows stir, and the light at last is beginning to reach the edges. Chapter 24, Sectumsempra. The days at Hogwarts roll on beneath overcast skies and heavy thoughts. Spring drifts quietly into the castle, not with blossoms and warmth, but with tension and secrets. Examinations approach, but they feel like distant echoes compared to the undercurrents that tug beneath everyday life. Harry wakes each morning with the image of a locket shimmering behind his eyes. His dreams are full of dark caverns and whispering voices, of Dumbledore's quiet gravity and the heavy truth of what lies ahead. But other thoughts stir as well. Thoughts of Ginny. She seems to glow brighter each time he sees her, laughing on the lawn, fierce on the Quidditch pitch, her presence lingering like sunlight on skin. And though Harry tries to keep focus, his heart begins to wander. Romance is in the air, not just for Harry, but all around the school. Lavender Brown and Ron continue their theatrical displays of affection, though the spark seems to flicker. Hermione, though she tries to hide it, is weary of it all. Harry often finds her alone, absorbed in her books, but her mind elsewhere. Jealousy simmers just beneath the surface. Quiet, stubborn, sad. Still, Ron and Hermione share occasional moments of something like warmth, brief eye contact, a sigh too, long, words left unsaid. Life, even in a time of fear, does not stop for feelings. Harry's focus returns to Draco. There is something wrong. Draco is thinner, paler. His eyes dart like shadows, and his shoulders curve inward as if shielding himself from something unseen. He vanishes often, slipping into hidden corners and through secret doors. Harry grows more convinced that Draco is at the center of something dangerous, something important. And with the Marauder's map clutched in hand, he watches the name Draco. Malfoy vanish from the parchment again and again. Where is he going? What is he doing? The answer never comes, only the silence of stone walls. Still, Harry waits, watches, listens. Then, one afternoon, opportunity comes cloaked in quiet. Harry sees Draco slip into the boys' bathroom on the 6th floor. He follows. Softly, his breath held. The bathroom is dim and echoing, the smell of damp stone and cold porcelain heavy in the air. A ghost weeps in one of the stalls, moaning Myrtle with her familiar moans and watery lament, and there, hunched over the sink, is Draco. He looks into the mirror with hollow eyes, trembling. He doesn't see Harry at first, but when he does, when their eyes meet in the cracked reflection, it is like a spark in dry grass. Wands are drawn. Draco throws the first curse. Harry retaliates. Spells fly like whispers sharpened into knives, and in the heat of the moment, panicked, instinctual, Harry yells the word Sectumsempra. It is the spell scrawled in the margins of the Half-Blood Prince's book. He doesn't know what it does, but the result is instant and devastating. Blood bursts from Draco's body, dark and gushing. He falls, gasping, eyes wide with terror and pain. The tiles turn slick and red beneath him. Harry stands frozen, horrified by what he has done. Draco isn't moving. The air is thick with fear. Then, through the doorway, comes Snape. He kneels beside Draco, his face tight and unreadable, and begins to murmur counterspells. From the tip of his wand spills silver light, like threads weaving flesh together again. It works. Slowly, the bleeding stops. Draco is still alive, but barely. Snape rises, and his eyes find Harry. There is no fury in them, only something deeper, something older. He demands to know what spell Harry used. Harry tells him the truth. It was in his potions book, the one he has followed all year, the one marked Property of the Half-Blood Prince. Snape's expression flickers, so briefly that Harry nearly misses it. Then, cool and firm, Snape commands Harry to bring him the book. But Harry, shaken and afraid, hides the real one in the room of requirement, far from reach, and replaces it with another before handing it over. He doesn't know why he hides it, only that something about that book, the Prince's guidance, the power it gave him, feels both dangerous and oddly familiar. In the days that follow, the mood at Hogwarts shifts. Harry is given detention every Saturday until term's end. He is banned from Quidditch. Gryffindor's chances in the final match now rest without him, and Ginny, brilliant, bold Ginny, is chosen as his replacement. Despite everything, detention, regret, the ache of what he did to Draco, there is still a spark of hope in Harry's chest. A small light flickering, because when the match is played, and Gryffindor wins, and the tower erupts in celebration, Harry finds himself drawn to Ginny through the noise and confetti, through laughter and bright candlelight. Their eyes meet, and this time Harry doesn't hesitate. He kisses her, not in secret, not in shadow, but openly, in front of the cheering common room, in a moment that feels like the world narrowing to just the two of them. It is warm. It is true. It is rare. And in this rare quiet joy, Harry allows himself a breath of peace, even as storm clouds gather outside the window, even as the war closes in, even as hearts break and spells wound and secrets deepen. Here, for a moment, there is only the stillness of being held, the echo of triumph, the beginnings of love, and the knowledge that even in darkness, light finds a way to bloom. Chapter 25, The Seer Overheard. The castle breathes with the rhythm of exams and endings. Spring has taken hold in the grounds, but inside the ancient walls of Hogwarts, the atmosphere is heavier than blooming flowers might suggest. Whispers of what happened in the boys' bathroom ripple among the students, quiet and uneasy. The name Sectumsempra is never spoken aloud, but its consequences cling to Harry's steps like a shadow. Harry endures his detentions with Snape. Long, silent, hours filled with scrubbing and scorn. Snape does not speak much during these detentions, and Harry offers no conversation in return. But behind every moment lies a deeper tension, an unspoken recognition that something dark has shifted between them. Still, life does not pause, even when hearts are heavy. There are exams to study for, and Quidditch matches to celebrate. The Gryffindor common room glows brighter now with the golden halo of victory, and Ginny's presence wraps around Harry's world like sunlight. They walk, hand in hand quietly, beneath the shade of castle walls. There is comfort in her nearness, a stillness that seems to soften the edges of everything else. Ron, Hermione, and Harry slip into old rhythms again, somehow, despite everything. Hermione remains watchful, her eyes often distant as if trying to connect invisible threads. Ron is content, though still bruised by the remnants of Lavender's affections. And Harry. Harry feels pulled in two directions. There is love blooming, yes, but also looming. Always, there is Draco. Always, there is Snape. Always, there is the mystery of what it all means. One day, while walking with Ron and Hermione, Harry is approached by Professor McGonagall. There's a note, a message. Dumbledore has returned, and he wants to see Harry that evening. It has been weeks since their last lesson together. Harry feels a tangle of excitement and apprehension at the thought. Something in his chest tightens. Not fear exactly, but the awareness that each of these meetings brings him closer to something final, to a truth he can't yet name. The meeting is to be late, after hours. So Harry, eager to pass the time, wanders the corridors under the invisibility cloak. He drifts past the library, past classrooms dark and quiet. Then, by chance or perhaps fate, he passes near the room of requirement and stops. There is someone inside. Two voices drift out, barely audible, one familiar, one ghostly with age. Harry edges closer, careful, silent. It's Professor Trelawney, and she is murmuring to someone, angry, distressed. Her arms are full of sherry bottles, confiscated, she says, and her voice trembles with indignation. She has been thrown out of the room of requirement. It had not wanted her presence, and she complains about something odd about trying to hide her bottles in the room, only to find it already occupied by someone else. Someone chanting in strange tongues, pacing in patterns. Harry's heart pounds. Could it be Draco? Could it be something more? Trelawney is still speaking, her voice quivering. She begins to reminisce about her early years at Hogwarts, about the night Dumbledore hired her, and suddenly, without warning, her voice drops low. Her tone changes. She says something Harry does not expect. That night in the Hog's Head, years ago, when Dumbledore came to interview her for the job, she had been frightened, uncertain, and during the meeting, she had fallen into a trance. She had made a prophecy. The one about the child born at the end of July. The one with the power to defeat the Dark Lord. Harry's breath catches. He knows this story, but what he learns next changes everything. Professor Trelawney says that someone had been listening that night, that someone had overheard the prophecy, that someone had been caught and thrown out. That someone was Severus Snape. Harry feels the floor tilt. Snape. Snape is the one who told Voldemort. Snape is the reason Voldemort came after his parents. Snape is the reason they died. Harry burns with fury, cold and absolute. His footsteps are quick and soundless, under the invisibility cloak as he rushes to Dumbledore's office. The spiral staircase carries him upward like a rising tide. When he enters, Dumbledore is waiting by the window, framed in the light of the sinking sun. The headmaster greets him kindly, but Harry does not return the warmth. He says only one name: Snape. And then he asks, did Snape hear the prophecy? Did Snape tell Voldemort? Did Snape cause the death of Lily and James Potter? Dumbledore's face is grave. He does not deny it. Yes, he says. Snape overheard part of the prophecy. He reported it to Voldemort. Harry feels a fire building in his chest. How? He asks. How could you trust him after that? How could you let him stay? How? Could you? But Dumbledore raises a hand. There is more to the story, he says. Snape had not known whom the prophecy referred to. He did not know it would lead to the death of Lily Potter. And when he found out, when he realized what he had done, he came to Dumbledore. Broken. Changed. He begged Dumbledore to protect her, not James, not Harry, just Lily. And when she died, despite his efforts, something shattered in him. From that moment on, Dumbledore says, Snape has worked against Voldemort. Out of guilt, yes, but also something more. Something Dumbledore believes in, but Harry is not soothed. He cannot forget what Snape did. Cannot forgive it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Still, the lesson begins. And tonight, they visit a memory long buried, but still burning. Dumbledore draws forth the memory of a man named Hokey, an old house elf who once served Hepzibah Smith, a collector of magical objects. The memory shows a young Tom Riddle, charming and poised, visiting the elderly witch under the pretense of admiration. But Harry and Dumbledore know better. Hepzibah shows Tom two treasures, a cup that once belonged to Helga Hufflepuff, and a locket that once belonged to Salazar Slytherin. Tom's eyes gleam with interest, with hunger. 2 days later, Hepzibah is dead. Her house elf blamed, and the treasures vanish. Dumbledore ends the memory with a quiet pause. He tells Harry what he believes, that Tom Riddle, Lord Voldemort, used these objects for a dark and ancient purpose. To make Horcruxes, to tear his soul and bind it to the world through murder. And these artifacts, these powerful symbolic relics, are likely the vessels. Harry nods, solemn. He understands. The mission is becoming clearer. There are Horcruxes left. They must be found and destroyed. As the lesson ends, Harry leaves the office feeling older. He walks through the castle beneath the weight of many truths, some that shake him, others that steady him. The walls feel colder. The night feels longer. But there is resolve now, coiled like a lantern flame in his chest. And somewhere in the dark, a prophecy still waits. Not yet fulfilled, not yet broken, but close. So, very close. Chapter 26. The Cave. Night is falling over the world of magic. A hush settles upon the grounds of Hogwarts, as if even the trees and towers know that something momentous is about to unfold. This evening is different. It is quiet, yes, but not in the way of sleep. It is the stillness of waiting, the hush before a storm. Harry sits in the common room, heart beating not with worry but with purpose. He is waiting for Dumbledore. They are going together tonight, to search for one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. The idea feels immense, unthinkable. And yet here it is. No longer a future promise, but a now. As he sits there, Ginny enters the common room. Her presence is calm, grounding. She leans in and kisses Harry, a brief moment of warmth against the dark. They exchange no heavy words, just eyes, just understanding, because they both know. There are some journeys one must take alone. Later, Harry meets Dumbledore at the top of the astronomy tower. The sky is bruised with purple and charcoal, and the air smells faintly of night. Dumbledore is waiting, his robes caught slightly in, the breeze, his eyes thoughtful and kind. He is carrying a small, delicate pouch, and within it, Harry will later learn, are only a few small things. But one of them is most important, a goblet for what lies ahead. Before they leave, Dumbledore gently asks Harry for a promise. If anything happens to him, Harry must do what he is told. He must obey no matter what. Harry, though reluctant, agrees. And with that, they disapparate, vanishing with a soft pop into the night. They arrive at a rocky shoreline, where the sea crashes endlessly into jagged cliffs. The wind here is salt-stung and heavy, and the sky above is smudged with clouds, moonlight barely touching the surface of the water. This is the place. Dumbledore's voice is almost reverent. This cave, he says, was once visited by Tom Riddle as a child during his time at the orphanage. Dumbledore believes Voldemort returned here to hide something terrible, something sacred to his twisted soul. Harry and Dumbledore approach the cliff face. There is no obvious entrance, no door, no gate, but the magic here is old and strong. The stone itself seems to resist them, dark and watchful. But Dumbledore is patient. He searches with his wand, his fingertips brushing the stone gently. Then, a shimmer, a sliver, a secret entrance is revealed. They step inside. The cave is narrow and black and cold. Their footsteps echo with strange softness as they make their way forward, Dumbledore casting spells to light the path and test the shadows. The rock around them seems to breathe, a hollow, living place that has been waiting for them. Eventually, they reach a ledge, and beyond it, a vast underground lake. The water is eerily still, utterly black. A greenish glow pulses softly from the eye, center of the lake where an island sits, distant and small. That, Dumbledore says, is where they must go. But there is no bridge, no path, only water. Harry offers to swim, but Dumbledore shakes his head. It's not safe. He conjures a small boat, narrow, silent, and the two of them step in. The journey across the lake is quiet and uneasy. The water around them is too still, too dark. And Harry begins to sense something beneath the surface. Shapes, faces, waiting. Dumbledore warns him gently, "Do not touch the water. Do not speak. Do not offer your hand." The boat glides slowly toward the island, and when they arrive, Harry sees it. A stone basin, carved and ancient, resting at the center of the rock. Within it, a strange green liquid glows softly. This is where the Horcrux is hidden. Dumbledore examines the basin. The liquid cannot be vanished. It cannot be moved. It must be drunk. Harry immediately offers, but Dumbledore insists. He must do it, and Harry must help. So it begins. Harry scoops, goblet after goblet of the glowing green potion, pressing it to Dumbledore's lips each time, and with each drink, Dumbledore changes. At first, he grimaces. Then he begins to tremble. His voice grows hoarse. He pleads, he cries, he begs. No more, no more. Harry's heart twists. But he continues. Because Dumbledore told him to. Because he must. Because there is no other way. With each sip, Dumbledore seems to shrink, his great power dimming like a candle in wind. His voice cracks with memories Harry doesn't understand. Regret, pain, and terrible sorrow. Still, Harry continues, until at last. The basin is empty, and at the bottom, gleaming in the shadows, they find it. A locket. Voldemort's Horcrux. Harry reaches for it, and Dumbledore, barely conscious, whispers for water. Harry turns to the lake, filling a shell with water for Dumbledore to drink. But as the shell touches the water, the lake stirs. At first, it's just a ripple. Then, a hand. Then another. Then dozens. Pale, slimy arms rise from the depths. Inferi. Silent and lifeless and cold. They reach for Harry, for Dumbledore, for the locket. The island becomes a battlefield of the undead, the Inferi crawling from the water, in ghostly silence. Harry fights them off as best he can, his spells flashing like stars in the dark. But there are too many, too fast, too strong. Harry is nearly pulled into the lake, into the cold arms of death, when Phlegm erupts. Dumbledore, though weakened, summons a firestorm of brilliance. A ring of flame explodes around the island, pushing the Inferi back into the water, scattering them like shadows. The lake goes still again. Harry helps Dumbledore into the boat. They return across the lake in exhausted silence, the soft slosh of water their only company. Back at the cave entrance, Harry helps Dumbledore to his feet. The headmaster is pale and frail, but his eyes still hold that quiet, knowing strength. They disapparate together. Back to Hogwarts. Back to the tower. Back to where the next shadow awaits them. Chapter 27. The lightning-struck tower. The night is quiet. At first, Harry and Dumbledore reappear just outside the castle gates. The world is still around them, but something in the air has changed. It hums with unease, as though the stones themselves are bracing for what comes next. Dumbledore leans heavily on Harry, weakened from the potion, from the fight, from everything they've just endured. But even in his frailty, he is focused, urgent. As they approach the castle, Dumbledore stops. Something is wrong. He senses it. Before Harry can speak, Dumbledore lifts his wand and casts a silent spell into the night. A silver bird, like a whisper of light, flies ahead into the darkness. A message, a call for help. They reach the astronomy tower. Dumbledore asks Harry to fetch Professor Snape quickly, but just as Harry turns to go, footsteps sound on the stairs. Too fast, too soon, not right, and then a bang. The door bursts open. Draco Malfoy steps through. Draco is pale, trembling, but his wand is steady. He has done it. He has brought the Death Eaters into Hogwarts. Harry instinctively moves to defend Dumbledore, but in a blur of magic, Dumbledore petrifies Harry with a spell, silent, swift, before he can act. Harry cannot move. He cannot speak. He can only watch. Helpless, hidden under the invisibility cloak. Draco stands before Dumbledore, and Dumbledore speaks to him kindly, softly, not with anger, not with fear, but with compassion. He sees the boy, not the threat, and Draco is just that, a boy, one who has been forced into a terrible role, one who was told to kill or die. Dumbledore offers him a way out, protection, help for his family, but Draco is torn, his wand trembles. He's been planning this moment for months, but now, here, standing in front of someone who shows no hatred, he cannot do it. His hand falters, and then the others arrive. The door bursts open again, and in come the Death Eaters. Greyback is among them, savage and snarling. Others follow, cloaked in darkness. They urge Draco on, command him to finish the task, but he cannot. He lowers his wand, and in that frozen instant, when the world seems to hold its breath, someone else enters. Severus Snape. His face is unreadable, his eyes dark and glittering. The Death Eaters stand back. They recognize him. They expect him to finish it. Dumbledore looks at Snape, and what passes between them in that moment is silent, mysterious. Dumbledore's voice is barely a whisper. Severus, please. Then, a flash of green light. Silent, swift, final. Dumbledore is thrown into the air, arms outstretched, and falls slowly from the tower, down into the yaw. Darkness below. The world goes quiet. Harry can move again. The spell is broken. He tears off the cloak, but it's too late. Too late. The Death Eaters flee. Snape is with them. Harry gives chase. Down the tower, through the corridors, across the grounds. Spells flash through the night as Harry duels the escaping Death Eaters. Fury and grief twisting in every shout, every wand movement. But it is Snape he wants. Snape he follows. And as they run through the darkness, Snape shields Draco, protects him. Harry screams at Snape, calls him a coward, a traitor. And Snape turns, his voice cold and sharp. Don't call me coward. And with one last act of deflection, Snape casts a spell that hurls Harry backwards. Then he vanishes into the night. The battle is over, and the cost is heavy. Back at the foot of the astronomy tower, students and professors gather. Their faces, pale and solemn. There nigh lies Dumbledore, still unmoving. The greatest wizard of the age, gone. And yet, even now, his face is peaceful, as though he knew, as though he accepted. Fawkes the Phoenix circles the tower and sings, a song of such aching sorrow that tears fall silently from every eye. The castle listens and mourns. The locket lies in Harry's pocket, cold, heavy, but when he opens it, later, alone, something is wrong. Inside is not the Horcrux. It is a fake. A note is hidden within, written by someone calling themselves R.A.B. They took the real Horcrux. They left this behind, and the mystery deepens. Voldemort's soul is still hidden. The Seer battle is far from over, but for now, in the hush of night, all is still. And Harry, heartbroken, stands at the edge of the quiet sea of grief. Chapter 28, Flight of the Prince. Darkness cloaks the castle. A kind of hush falls, like the earth itself is stunned. Above, the sky hangs heavy, and the stars seem to blink more slowly, dimmed by grief. Harry runs, still chasing, still. Burning with the fire of everything that has just happened. The Death Eaters flee through the castle grounds, slipping into shadow, but it is Severus Snape Harry follows. Snape, the man he trusted, the man Dumbledore trusted, the man who just... Harry cannot even finish the thought. It is too much. He follows them past the greenhouses, down the slopes of the grounds, through the whispering grasses soaked in dew. Behind them, the castle lights flicker like old memories. The battle within the castle still echoes. Spells were cast, damage was done, but the defenders, teachers, members of the Order, students, rose to meet the threat. Even Hagrid's hut was set aflame. The distance, flames crackle, painting the trees with an eerie glow. But Hagrid is safe, though singed, and stomping about in confusion and anger. He throws curses after the fleeing attackers with a kind of wild sorrow. Harry shouts to him, but does not stop. He presses on, toward the forest, toward the edge of everything, toward Snape. Harry catches up at last. The final confrontation unfolds. In the silvered shadows just beyond the pumpkin patch, Snape turns. Draco stands beside him, breathless, frightened. Other Death Eaters are near, keeping their wands trained. Harry raises his wand, shouts a spell, but Snape deflects it without even lifting his own. His voice is low, controlled. Harry throws another, and another, spell after spell, furious, ragged, fueled by a pain that cuts deeper than any wound. But Snape is calm. He parries easily, even protectively shields Draco again and again, not once. Does he cast a deadly spell in return? Harry screams at him, accuses him, demands answers. How could you? But Snape's face is closed, his eyes dark and unreadable. Still, in a flash, one truth breaks through. Snape reveals something that hits Harry like a bolt to the chest. He was the half-blood prince, the owner of the old potions book. The name scribbled in the margins, the hidden hand behind so many spells. It was him, the very book Harry had trusted, the knowledge he had used. It came from the man who now stands against him. Everything seems to twist. Everything feels poisoned. And then, Snape does something strange. Harry casts a spell, one of the violent curses from the prince's book, and Snape blocks it, furiously. He lashes out, not with his wand, but with words. "You dare use my own spells against me?" There is rage in him now. Real rage, but beneath it, something else. Not cruelty, but disappointment, and he tells Harry, clearly, cuttingly, not to use spells he does not understand. It is a strange thing to say. Stranger still from a man who just... But, before more can be said, before the truth can surface fully, before the night can reveal its final shape, a sound cuts through the darkness. The beat of wings, thestrals, creatures made of shadow and silence. The Death Eaters mount them and vanish into the sky. Snape, too, gone. Harry falls to his knees in the wet grass. The silence returns. The castle is behind him, a single flickering light. The world feels emptier than it ever has. The sun begins to rise, barely brushing the edges of the forest with the softest gold. Back in the castle, those who remained now begin to gather. They speak in hushed tones of the battle, of what was lost. Some are injured, some are shocked, many are crying, but all of them are mourning. The great hall becomes a place of quiet gathering, not for feasting, but for grief. The house tables remain, but no one sits by house now. They come together, Slytherin beside Gryffindor, Ravenclaw beside Hufflepuff. Loss does not honor boundaries. Outside, near the white tomb that will soon be built, Fawkes the Phoenix sings once more. A song of farewell, of endings and beginnings. His notes float into the morning, golden and aching, filled with memories and mystery, and when the song fades, the sky seems just a little more still. Harry stands with Ron, Hermione, Ginny, Neville, and Luna, together, as always, but changed. Forever changed. The war is no longer coming. It is here, and Harry knows deep in his bones that everything will be different now, that he must face what lies ahead, and that some paths must be walked alone. Chapter 29. The Phoenix lament. The morning is hushed. A pale light filters through the windows of the hospital wing, soft as the wings of sleep. The battle is over, but its traces linger, in bruises, in silence, in the distant smell of smoke from Hagrid's hut. Inside the ward, the survivors rest. Bill Weasley lies unconscious on a narrow bed, his face torn and clawed, changed by the werewolf Fenrir Greyback. Fleur Delacour is by his side. Her beauty seems dimmed by sorrow, but not her love. When Mrs. Weasley begins to protest, gently, protectively, that perhaps Fleur may not want Bill anymore, Fleur draws herself up and speaks with such clear, fierce devotion that the room quiets, in awe. "Bill is brave," she says. "He will be beautiful to me always." And just like that, doubt falls away. Love, it seems, has already chosen. The Order members gather. McGonagall, Lupin, Tonks, Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, and others. Their faces are drawn, their eyes rimmed with exhaustion. Tonks clutches Lupin's hand, awkwardly, hesitantly, as if afraid it might be wrong. But in the face of loss, something new is allowed to bloom. Tonks speaks not only with grief, but with longing, of love delayed by fear, of waiting too long to hold what matters, and Lupin, reluctant and bound by guilt, slowly accepts what is already there. Even as the world darkens, love still finds a way through. Harry walks through the halls like a ghost. Every step feels heavier. Now, every corner of the castle echoes differently. Where once there was laughter, light, the buzz of magic, and the joy of secrets, now there is a hush. A stillness. Students whisper. Portraits lower their eyes. The staircases creak more slowly, as if mourning too. In Dumbledore's office, the headmaster's portrait has not yet appeared. The silver instruments that once whirred and clicked have gone still. Fawkes is gone. His cage stands open, but faintly, from somewhere unseen, the haunting notes of his song still echo. A phoenix's lament, full of sorrow, full of remembrance, full of endings and hope. McGonagall takes temporary charge. She meets with the heads of houses, unsure of what comes next. Do they close the school? Do they send the students home? The questions hang heavy in the air. But Harry, he knows his decision already. He cannot return to school next year. Not while Horcruxes remain. Not while Voldemort still lives. Not while Dumbledore's mission remains unfinished. It is a quiet resolve, but it burns in him like a silent flame. Later, Harry stands with Ginny by the lake. The still water reflects the sky, wide, soft, and silvered with drifting clouds. He tells her the truth. They cannot be together. It is the hardest thing he's had to say, but he knows Voldemort will try to use her, like he's used others before, and Harry cannot bear that. Ginny listens, eyes bright and unblinking. She does not plead, she does not cry, she simply accepts, with strength, with grace, with a quiet pride that mirrors Harry's own. She understands, not because she agrees, but because she loves him. In the warmth of the sunlit grounds, the circle of friends gathers again. Hermione, Ron, Harry. They stand beneath the open sky, the wind soft in the grass, and speak of what lies ahead. Horcruxes, danger, a path away from Hogwarts, a path without comfort, without classes, without Quidditch, or feasts or holidays, a path toward the unknown, but not alone, never alone. Hermione says she's already told her parents, erased her presence from their memories so they'll be safe. Ron nods. He's coming too. They've chosen. They're ready. And Harry. He looks at his friends and feels something deep stir within. This is not the end of something. It is the beginning. Above them, in the highest window, the sunlight glimmers like a tear, and somewhere, far beyond hearing, Fawkes' song fades into silence. But its echoes remain, in their hearts, in the stone of the castle, in the quiet strength of those who remain. Chapter 30. The White Tomb. The final chapter begins not with action, nor with fear, but with a deep, quiet sorrow. Hogwarts, ancient and proud, holds its breath. The air is softer now. Even the wind through the trees seems to whisper differently, as though nature itself is mourning. Today is the funeral, the day they say goodbye to Albus Dumbledore. People arrive from across the magical world, witches and wizards of every kind, ministry officials, foreign guests, old friends, former students. Each one dressed in robes of black or gray or shimmering deep purple, their faces solemn, their steps slow. Some carry flowers, others bring nothing but memory. They walk the same stone halls he once strode, pass beneath the high, vaulted ceilings, gather on the green lawns that slope toward the lake. Even the merpeople have surfaced to witness. Even the centaurs gather silently in the distant trees. Even the giant squid floats near the surface, eerily still. This is not just the farewell of a man, but of something more, something that felt like magic itself. The service is held on the grounds, near the edge of the forest, by the calm water where Dumbledore once strolled with students, where he offered lessons and listened and sometimes just smiled without speaking. Rows of chairs face a simple white platform. The guests take their places quietly. No one speaks above a whisper. Even Peeves is nowhere to be found. There is a hush to the earth itself. Hagrid arrives, carrying Dumbledore's body in his arms. He walks slowly, sobbing, the tears falling unchecked into his beard. The great man, wrapped in rich embroidered robes, lies peacefully in the giant's arms, as though merely asleep. The sight of him takes the breath from every throat. Fleur clutches Bill's hand. McGonagall lowers her head. Madame Pomfrey weeps quietly behind a handkerchief. And Harry stands between Ron and Hermione, rooted to the spot. He cannot cry. Not yet. His grief is too wide, too deep. It feels like the whole world has shifted. The eulogies are gentle and brief. They speak of Dumbledore's wisdom, his compassion, his brilliance, his flaws too, acknowledged with love. They speak of the man who believed in the good in others, even when others could not see it. Of a headmaster who guided without controlling, who loved quietly but fiercely, a man who carried burdens no one ever truly saw. When the final words are spoken, magic stirs in the air. A white tomb, carved from radiant marble, rises from the earth, smooth and gleaming, soft in the sunlight. It closes gently over Dumbledore's body. No clattering of stone, only stillness, only peace. And the song of birds in the distance, delicate and sweet. As the guests begin to drift away, their eyes full of tears, Harry remains behind, alone. He steps forward slowly toward the tomb. Everything in him feels full of sadness, of gratitude, of questions without answers. He thinks of the laughter in Dumbledore's eyes, the way his voice lifted in warmth, the way he believed in people, in Harry, and love, even in the darkest of days. Then a soft noise breaks the quiet. From the sky, high and sudden, a streak of fire, a brilliant white shape. Fawkes. The Phoenix returns for one final flight. His wings glow in the sun, casting golden reflections on the water. And as he circles once, then again, he sings. A final song. A farewell. Not mournful, but full of light, like a lullaby from another world. When he vanishes into the clouds, Harry feels the last note still vibrating in his chest. Soft, beautiful, unforgettable. Harry turns back to his friends. He tells them he's not returning to school. Next year, the search for Horcruxes will begin. It is time. And they, Ron and Hermione, without hesitation say they'll come too, not because they must, but because they choose to. Friendship, real and unshakable, has never been more clear. As they walk away from the tomb, the sun slips toward the horizon, and though the world has grown darker, something inside Harry is still lit, not by answers, not by triumph, but by the quiet certainty that he will carry Dumbledore's legacy forward. That love still matters, that even loss, deep as it is, can be a light in the night. They pass beneath the shadow of the castle, together, changed, but not alone. And in the distance, the lake ripples gently, catching the last of the day's golden glow, like the memory of a song that still lingers, even after silence has returned. Final reflection: the gentle echo of a darkening world. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is a book of shadows and revelations. It doesn't thunder with constant action, nor race toward easy victory. Instead, it deepens the night sky above, the wizarding world, pinning stars of truth and sorrow across its velvet expanse. We began with a change in the air, a feeling that the world we once knew was slipping away, and by the end, we have felt that change. Slowly, unavoidably, like the coming of twilight. This is a quieter story than some of the others. Less about battles, more about the invisible threads beneath, about secrets, memories, burdens, and sacrifice. It's the calm before the storm, but also the chapter where hearts begin to break open. At its center is grief, not just for Dumbledore, though his death weighs heavily like fog in early morning, but grief for innocence, grief for the childhood that slips away from Harry, Ron, and Hermione as they cross into something deeper, more dangerous. And yet, woven into the sorrow is something else. Hope, courage, the soft, unshakable truth that love, real love, in all its quiet forms, is the strongest kind of magic there is. The themes whisper to us gently. Love and its cost. This is the book where love takes on new weight. Romantic love stirs and tangles between Harry and Ginny, between Ron and Lavender, between Tonks and Lupin, and in the unspoken moments between others. But it's also the book where love must be set aside for safety, where love becomes sacrifice, memory, and truth. Dumbledore's lessons are not spells or duels, but glimpses into the past. We are shown Tom Riddle's story not to excuse him, but to understand him. And we are reminded that truth, however painful, must be seen before it can be faced. The burden of leadership. Harry begins to take on the weight of others' expectations, even as Dumbledore withholds more than he gives. There's frustration in this, but also preparation. Dumbledore knows his time is ending. He is not just teaching Harry how to act, but how to stand alone. Death. Softly, steadily, this book prepares us for the reality of death, not as a sudden blow, but as an ever-present thread. From the cursed ring to the inferi, to the gentle rise of the white tomb, death is not sensational. Here, it is quiet, permanent, real, Dumbledore's legacy. What lingers most from this book is not the plot, it's Dumbledore. A man so often calm, whimsical, and wise, revealed here as something more complex. A man of secrets, a man who planned far ahead, who made mistakes, who trusted too much. And yet still, who loved fiercely, even if not always visibly. His final acts were not ones of power, but of trust. He trusted Harry with the future, with the mission, with the truth. His death is not the loss of a commander, but the passing of a torch. He leaves behind no monument but a boy with a scar, a girl with fierce intellect, and a friend whose loyalty cannot be shaken, and a phoenix song forever echoing in the background, the road ahead. When we leave this book, we do not feel relief. We feel longing, uncertainty, but also readiness. Harry will not return to Hogwarts next year. The trio's world is about to grow wide and wild. They will step into shadows, chase Horcruxes, and face loss on new and terrifying levels. But they will do it together, and they will do it with everything they've learned from Dumbledore, from their friendship, and from the quiet strength that's been growing inside them all along. And as the curtain falls, we are left not with answers, but with a gentle ache, a longing for a headmaster's laugh, for simpler times in the common room, for the comfort of school corridors filled with portraits and mischief. But even as those things fade, something greater remains. The feeling that stories, even when they end in sorrow, hold us together. That love can persist beyond loss, and that the quiet strength of a chosen family will always carry us through the darkest of nights. So now, dear listener, close your eyes. Let the Phoenix's final note drift into your dreams. And remember, sometimes the softest goodbyes hold the greatest beginnings. Sleep well, and when you wake, the next adventure will be waiting.